Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Co-Optional Podcast on the 15th of December 2015. It is our special awards episode. Well, one of two special awards episodes, because we ain't getting through all this shit today, that I can guarantee. Before I go on, a big thanks to Gav, aka Miracle of Sound, for the music that we heard just before the show. His new album, Level 6, is available right now on miracleofsound.com. That's actually miracleofsound.bandcamp.com. Miracleofsound.bandcamp.com. So by all means, feel free to go and have a look at that.
He's pretty great. Just saying.
Thanks for the endorsement, Dodger. That was really sincere there.
Yeah. I also think he's great.
Fantastic. Good. I'd like to hear that.
I strongly disagree.
Why?
I don't know. Someone's got to do it. Might as well be me.
His music's so sick, the Dodger is so sick. The Dodger is sick.
Indeed.
Yeah. Your music is killing people. Literally killing people.
That is a terrible thing. That is a terrible, terrible thing. What is not a terrible thing is that today's show is sponsored by Crunchyroll.com/TotalBiscuit. All of the anime that you could possibly desire and much, much more that you probably do not. Crunchyroll.com/TotalBiscuit. What have you been watching this week or the last few weeks on Crunchyroll, Dodger? You've no doubt come up with something.
Oh, I finally sat down and watched Osumatsu-san.
Which is what?
It's an anime about sextuplets. It's about 6 identical brothers, and it's based off of an anime that ran in the 60s, like a really, really old anime that had just terrible goofs, and like...
Anime with terrible goofs? No, surely not.
Guys, the first episode of Osumatsu-san is like the best thing in the world, because it's all of these characters... like, drawn in black and white, like the way that they used to be drawn, being like, we got renewed for an anime, but, like, what kind of anime do people want to watch nowadays? Like, what do we do? How do we keep an audience around? So they decide that they need to be
hell.
Like, yeah, they're like, well, obviously we need to be, like pop idols, right? Cool, let's do that. And, like, it just, the whole first episode is this weird fever dream, and then it turns into kind of, like, each episode is, like, different sketch comedy bits, because all 6 brothers have extremely different personalities. So it winds up being really fun, and even if only for the fact that you watch it going, which brother is that? Okay, yeah, I think I know which brother that is. Like, you kind of have to, like, figure it out. It's fun.
That does sound very confusing, which is also what I would say for Log Horizon that we actually finished a couple of weeks back.
Oh, Log Horizon's so good.
Good series. I enjoyed it a lot. I think that it does the whole, hey, we're trapped in a massively multiplayer online RPG thing, and it's somehow now real, better than Sword Art Online does. I think it does it a lot better, actually.
Sword Art Online is trash. Yeah, I said it. Come at me, internet.
Sword Art Online is a anime about a video game for people that don't like video games, whereas Log Horizon is an anime about a video game for people that actually like video games. And I have no doubt the person that ended up translating this thing and doing the subtitles for it clearly played a shitload of WoW, because there is a lot of WoW-specific stuff in there. You know, terms that you would never use otherwise. There's a lot of stuff like buff and debuff. Kiting is mentioned, kiting monsters and things like that. There's all sorts of stuff in there, but it introduced a bunch of new concepts and characters very close to the end of Season 2. I'm like, what's happening? Like, what? Hang on, what? What the bloody hell is going on now? So there was that. And then we watched a couple of episodes of a show called Lovely Muku, which is a lie. It is a show...
Not lovely, or has a
or
Muku?
I mean, he's kind of lovely. It's about a dog. And it's one of those super silly, cutesy, wacky shows. But it claimed it was about an Akita dog. It's actually a Shiba Inu. It's not an Akita.
Of course.
Rude.
Distrustful anime. It's the worst.
I can't.
No.
They broke my trust. They broke my trust. But it's very, very stupid, and stupid in a very good way. But it's worth watching if you just want to watch a stupid show about a dog. But yeah, there you go. Crunchyroll.com/TotalBiscuit. Go watch a stupid show about a dog a anime about video games and possibly some meta anime about anime. There you
Or
go.
Not your best brother.
Or you don't have to watch any anime at all and just go watch Ultraman, which is the best.
Oh dear, going back
The
in time.
best.
That one going back in
They
time.
have Ultraman. That is all you need to know about Crunchyroll. Ultraman is the best show there ever was. Watch it.
Do they have Jet Jaguar?
I don't know.
Don't think so.
Remember Jet Jaguar?
Yeah, I am familiar with Jet Jaguar.
Best episode of Mystery Science Theater ever.
Now, if you're wondering, Jesse, what kind of
hang on a
Ultraman
minute.
do they have?
Oh, hang on.
Ultraman
It looks
X?
like they have. I'm just
Ultraman
looking.
Mebius.
So Crunchyroll actually has Godzilla vs Megalon, which I believe had Jet Jaguar in it. Yeah,
Yes!
yeah, Jet Jaguar was in that. So yes,
They've
you
officially
can.
got everything.
There you go.
Ultraman 80. Ultraman Max. There's a lot of Ultramans.
Yeah. Don't watch the dubbed version of Godzilla vs Megalon. Watch the subtitled one. Trust me.
There's Destroy All Monsters, which is amazing.
Destroy All
by the
Monsters
way.
is great. I actually had no idea that it had all the Godzilla films on here because I used to be big into those.
Have you never looked at
buy them on
Crunchyroll
VHS.
for anything besides anime?
The only thing I looked at Crunchyroll outside of anime was actually the live-action Death Note series. I did not realize that they actually had some
Dude, they got
Godzilla on
Bruce
here.
Lee movies and all sorts of shit on there. It's great.
Cool. Oh, I
man.
had no idea. Cool. Yeah, they do have some Godzilla on here. Oh shit, Godzilla vs King Ghidorah. Oh yes. Destroy All Monsters was so fucking good.
Destroy All Monsters is the best.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right, well, I know what I'm binging after the show. Welcome to the Corruptional Podcast. We do occasionally talk about video games. Our guest for today's show is the illustrious Danny O'Dwyer of GameSpot. Welcome to the show.
Hello, thanks again for having me. Apologies to everyone for dragging this an hour earlier, but we have a live show at 5 p.m., so I need
all
to
good.
squeeze
Oh, and your
this
show's
in.
more important than
No,
our show?
it's certainly not. That's why I'm here.
I don't know that. All right, whatever.
Yeah, so I'm glad, especially because of what today's podcast is about, like just diving into what was a bloody great year in video games.
It was in many ways, absolutely. It was definitely better than 2014. I remember having a lot of bad things to say about stuff that happened in 2014.
Yeah, for sure. And I for whatever reason, earlier this year, I was going back on some videos I made earlier in the year, and I did a whole video in February about how 2015 is going to be this massive fucking disappointment. I was just like, oh god, how wrong I was. Like, we're almost in like 1998, 2004 territory of just great year of memorable releases that we'd like to look back on. And,
Fantastic year.
you know,
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of good stuff. So here's how things are going to work. For the next couple of shows, we're basically going to be doing a very sort of informal awards discussion. And I came up with a shitload of categories for it. And what we're going to be doing is just going through as many of those as possible. We're going to be talking about the games that we think deserve to be in there, and we may or may not arbitrarily pick a winner. We might just leave you blue balls. That's entirely possible with those kind of people.
I mean, I won't. Look, I finished.
I will.
I won't. I'll pick up Dodger's slack. No blue balls on this podcast.
I'll pick up her blue balls.
I'll
Thanks,
pick up
Jesse.
her blue balls. Don't you worry.
Okay. Well, so we have a bunch of categories. I could read a bunch. I got a lot of categories. I just
Don't
thought
read them off. Let's just go through.
I'm not going to read
Don't
them
tell
off.
people
No,
what
I'm
they
not
are.
going to read them all off. That would be stupid. But I came up with a bunch of categories that hopefully we can all have some input in. So it's like there is no best fighting game because let's be honest. One, there weren't many fighting games released this year anyway, and secondly,
Mortal Kombat.
we don't really play all that many of them.
It's easy.
Like,
That one's easy. Done. We did it. We
amongst
just did it.
us.
Mortal Kombat.
Did it.
There is no
Here,
best
sir.
sports game on this list because we don't fucking play sports games. So
What
Rocket League.
about there?
Rocket League.
There was
Easy.
no.
Done. We did it.
there you go, problem
We're doing it.
solved.
This is great.
Rocket
We're
League.
doing it. Easy.
There, to be fair, there was no 2D pixelated side scroller category.
No,
so
there wasn't. As I mean,
And what
I
would
because
have
I
gone there,
really
Roger?
think
Mario
like,
Maker.
There are
Oh,
like
yeah, Mario
30
Maker.
million
Yeah,
of them.
easy.
I
Mario
just
Maker.
generally
Done.
think like that they should stop. So I just don't want to encourage them by giving them a category. It's like please stop sending me pixel platformers, please. Oh
They have a
god,
brand new one, and it's an
Kingdom was
interesting
pretty
take
fun.
on the pixel platforming side scroller. TV.
pixel
They
is
go from right to left now. It's like Commander Keen, 25 years old.
Oh,
We're bringing
yes.
it back. Done.
absolutely. We're not putting Guilty Gear Xrd in. That came out in 2014. Don't be silly, guys. All right, so yeah, we came up with some categories that hopefully we can answer, and we're just going to dive right in. That's going to be the show, and probably most of next show as well, because we've got a lot of stuff to cover. So let's dive right into the first category. The first category for the co-optionals, I guess you can call them. Or the
co-opties?
The co-opties?
Co-opties.
The co-opties, there we go. Is best first-person shooter. Let's start talking about that. Who wants to kick that one off?
I'll do it.
Go.
Go.
All right.
Danny taking the initiative. That's what I like to see. Here we go.
Not sure if it counts. Overwatch.
I was gonna say Overwatch, but I don't
Yeah.
think
Here's
it
the
does
thing.
count.
I was going to say that too, but I don't think it counts because that's a next year game.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was like, literally the only first-person shooter that I have really enjoyed and played a shit ton of is Overwatch, but it's not technically released, so I'm like, I don't think it counts.
I don't know. Like, I'm willing to let it slide. I think that we're in this very strange spot right now where pre-release betas are almost so accessible to a lot of people that they can kind of be counted as releases of some description. I think Overwatch was obviously a lot less accessible for obvious reasons. It was definitely not an open beta.
I will contest that. I don't think Overwatch should have it, mostly because it's not out yet. But I think if we count games that are out, I mean, you kind of have to give it to Black Ops 3. Because I think, like, out of all of them, that was the best one. And that says a lot that there weren't a lot of good ones this year.
I think there's a good reason there's actually several good reasons to consider Black Ops 3. As weird as some people are going to turn around and say it is incredibly stupid to try and claim that Call of Duty is like Shooter of the Year. But actually, I think, honestly, Black Ops 3 is a really good value proposition. Like, it's a very full package of stuff this year. Or a very full care package of stuff.
Boo.
Indeed. One could
Would
say I'm on a streak.
Oh, God damn it. I'm going to derail you. Is there more content in that than, say, Halo 5? Because that's a series that every single sort of main numbered game in that has, like, shed loads of stuff to do. Big campaign, co-op,
it's a good question. So how much of Halo 5 did you play?
Hardly any. I'm asking you.
I think that's kind of the problem. I don't think any of us really played a great deal of Halo 5, but just as a comparison, so what you basically get in the Black Ops 3 box is you've got a single-player campaign. Then after you've beaten that single-player campaign, you have an alternate single-player campaign in which a bunch of shit changes. You can play any level at any time in any order, and you can also play it in up to 4-player co-op, which is pretty fucking cool. You then have obviously the multiplayer, of which there is a lot. They brought things like Gun Game back, which is always good. Bunch of modes. I don't think there are too many new modes. Decent number of maps on launch, about 11 or 12, which is, I think, about standard. I believe dedicated servers are being used for the PC, which is good. And then you've got the Zombies mode, which is really cool in terms of its visual design, and also in terms of just how unusual a mode like that is in modern games, where they drop you into something and literally don't tell you anything about what you're supposed to do. And I know that zombies in Call of Duty games have done that for the last few of them, where it's always been, hey, figure out how to somehow beat this level. We'll give you some cryptic clues of some sort. Also, zombies are trying to kill you while you're figuring it out. And the whole 1940s kind of Cthulhu noir thing they've got going on.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely. I think, and you know, there's a bunch of other stuff like the way that you can customize guns, like the paint shop that they put in has a lot of customization, which I'm kind of surprised they didn't try to sell you, but you know they just put that in there pretty much immediately. I just think like it hasn't done a lot to innovate at all because it's Call of Duty, but as a shooter, it's got quite a lot going for it, and there's a lot in the box. If you like COD, there's a lot of COD to like in there.
I was really sad because for a split second I was like, Ziggurat! But that came out at the very end of last year.
Yeah, Ziggurat came out last year. You don't get to use Ziggurat, sorry.
That game was really fun.
Yeah, as for Halo, it's kind of hard for any of us to really make the comparison, because I know that didn't have split screen gameplay because of their whole we can't get it to run at 60 FPS thing.
Yeah.
I am very annoyed by the statement that they made on that, because it made a ton of angry console fanboys think that 60 FPS was the worst thing ever. because they're like, no, we can't do it because it's 60 FPS. And everyone's like, fuck 60 FPS! Like, no. They could have, but they could have just had the split screen run at 30, which like people have been doing for fucking ever.
Yeah. Like where we used to, 2
Used to
decades
go all
ago,
time.
we were playing like the draw distance was terrible in like any game with split screen in it. That's like that's the way that goes. I feel like anyone who's played that game, the best way to play it was with the co-op. The AI stuff wasn't particularly tight in the campaign either. So I'm not fighting for it. I was just throwing it out there. But here's a sort of a curveball. Where does Fallout 4 land in this? Is that a first-person shooter?
I say so.
Yeah.
Yes, but it's not a good one. It's comparatively, it's not a good one.
Comparing it to Fallout 3, it's a great one.
Yes.
Like, they cleaned it up.
Comparing it to other first-person shooters, it's not. Like
I guess, if you're going to put it in the first-person shooter category, you have to compare it mechanically to other first-person shooters, right?
I would go as far as to say Halo, for example, and this is a limb that I will be joined by literally every one of my friends who's a Halo freak, and I know a lot of people who are like, that's their jam is Halo. Halo hasn't been like a really good first-person shooter since Halo 3. Like, Halo 3 was the last time it was really fundamentally really good, and ever since then, the people who are huge Halo people just go back and play 3, because the last few ones have sucked. So, I'm going to take their lead and say it's definitely, I feel like Call of Duty nailed it this time. Like, I think we all agree Overwatch is probably the better, but it's not out. I refuse to give it to a game that's not out yet.
My number 2 for this year would actually be another game that's not out, which is Unreal Tournament, which I've played a bunch of this year.
Although that is
also
you can just play that straight up though. Like I think you can count that, because unlike Overwatch, where people literally could not get in to actually play it, you can play Unreal Tournament right the hell now.
Yeah, it says alpha all over it, but you're right. There's a bunch of game modes. There's a lot of maps. There's some placeholder maps that they're fixing, but there's a bunch of stuff in there. Their marketplace is kind of ridiculous at the moment because they're selling individual maps for like $5.
Yeah,
and no one's really playing them, so there's no incentive to get in there. In terms of mechanically though, like really sound mechanical first-person shooters. I know it's kind of derivative, but what about Wolfenstein Old Blood? Because that came out, I think, back in. Is it March?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, that's on my list. I totally agree with you, but I wasn't going to give it to it because I think last year we gave best FPS to the original Wolfenstein New Order.
Yeah, and I don't think Old Blood is better. Like, I actually think in many ways it's actually a bit of a step down. But this is coming from someone that gave Wolfenstein my Game of the Year last year.
Oh, wow,
up.
really?
Right.
Yeah, I thought it was that damn good. Old Blood did not engage me as much. I think it's definitely got some kind of annoying, contrived sections in it, in terms of silly force stealth and all that kind of thing. But simultaneously, it's also a lot of the same up until the weird, hey, supernatural thing kind of happens. And then it gets a little bit different. But it's like a lot of the same guns, a lot of the same enemies, more of the same, but on a smaller sort of scale. I didn't hate it. Like, I thought the actual infiltration of the castle, all that bit was pretty cool, and it had some really cool sequences. I love the cable car sequence. I think that was a lot of fun there. It reminded me very much of some of the train sequences, the bridge sequences from the previous game. But it definitely was a bunch of more of the same, which if that was all you're looking for, then it was great, but I don't think it did enough to really distinguish itself from the actual original.
Also, remember, chat, this is first-person shooter. If it was just a shooter category, I might give it to Splatoon. I'll be honest. If it was just shooters,
Splatoon
not an
is
FPS.
Third person, but
it's not FPS though. Yeah. So it's
not
just
FPS.
first person, and so yeah, man, I'm telling you, I think Black Ops is the winner.
I would like to throw Dirty Bomb into the ring, because I think that is an extremely good objective-focused multiplayer game that it's flown a little bit under the critical radar, I think, because of its free-to-play nature. And I know that a lot of traditional outlets these days seem to maybe avoid looking at free-to-play games in a serious way, maybe because there's not a definitive beginning, middle, and end. They can't necessarily assess it because 60 hours down the line, you might run into a paywall-related problem or something like that, which makes it very difficult to assess. But I have played like 90 hours of Dirty Bomb this year, and I haven't really regretted that. They have made quite a lot of mistakes in their development. They have released characters who are clearly overpowered as shit. There's a character. I think it is Phantom. They brought in a character that could cloak. And that's always going to be a problem when you introduce that into a shooter. It's difficult to balance an invisible character. What you don't do is what they did. You don't make the cloak also a shield. You don't add the cloaking energy to their overall HP. And you don't give them a giant fucking sword that can one-shot half the classes in the game, and the actual swing time of which is so short, and you can start the swing while you're cloaked. The animation can begin while you are invisible. You don't do that thing.
How long did it take for them to shore that one up?
They fixed it probably in about a month. Like, they nerfed quite a few different aspects. It was a bad combination of different things. Like, they gave him the best SMG in the game as well. So it's like, this character's good at everything. Like, he's too tanky, he's too fast, he is the best melee character in the game, but you also gave him one of the best medium-range SMGs. So he's good at regular fighting as well. Like, the only thing he couldn't do was be kind of an objective specialist. So, yeah, that character was... I had a lot of fun causing a lot of anger when that character first came out. Like, I felt pretty good with myself because I was murdering people, but I very quickly realized it was an incredibly stupid idea. But I think that is a game that has since then developed very well. It's got a good competitive scene. They have done a lot of improvements to the UI and the netcode. The gunplay is really solid, and it's a very good objective-focused FPS. Obviously, it's multiplayer only. I think it's worth throwing that one in.
It's so strange hearing you talk about that and then hearing people talk about Rainbow Six Siege.
There's another one I'd like to bring up.
Yeah, because it's like, especially when you talk about that's a free-to-play game, and Siege is a game that costs $60.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm on the Siege bandwagon at the moment.
Okay.
I will happily say that. And I'm willing to argue in favor of its cost on principle, on the basis that the arbitrary idea of, like, you have to include X amount of content in order to be worth Y amount of dollars doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, because the games that I often invest the most amount of time in, I'm often only playing one game mode anyway.
Yeah.
It's like the whole, yeah, Counter-Strike's got a bunch of modes and maps, but everyone just wants to play DE Dust kind of argument. If it's that good, if the game mode is that good and has that much replayability and that much depth, then the amount of content that the game offers to me is actually not an important metric, but I do realize it is very important to a lot of other people. It's just something that I personally don't care about. Like, I have no problem dropping 60 on Rainbow Six Siege, because the time I've had so far with Siege has been that much fun, and it's been that different. Like, I look for new experiences, and that is a new experience. Like, that does a lot of new things.
I don't know that it like this would be the category for it, though. Like, yes, it's an FPS, but I feel like it's the experience of it is great. Like, I feel like it's playing online with people and the different things you can get caught up in. Like, that's what makes the game fun. I don't know if I would say mechanically it's like a phenomenal game.
I think in terms of some mechanics it is phenomenal, but in others it's not. I think the gunplay is not all that great. I don't think it's as bad as people say it is. I think a lot of it has to come down with the netcode problems the game has right now. The gunplay would feel a lot better if the bullets were actually fucking connecting like they're supposed to. There's definitely a problem with that. I actually like the feel of the guns and the sound assets in particular. They seem to have a decent amount of kick to them. They seem to encourage me to burst. Spraying from the hip is fucking useless in that game. Utterly useless. I saw a video of someone claiming that there was a netcode problem because they were playing the big guy with the riot shield, and he has this huge flashlight on the front of his shield that he can use to flash the people in the room, which is a really cool idea. And his only weapon is a pistol, and he can fire it in two ways. He can fire it from the hip with his shield up, which doesn't hit anything ever, or he can sort of lower his shield a bit to aim down the iron sights, and that's where you get the accuracy from. And that to me is like, that's actually deliberate balancing. It's not like a netcode problem with the gun not hitting what it's supposed to. It's supposed to be stupidly inaccurate, and the only way it's supposed to work is if you're right up in their face. And, I mean, yeah, it's definitely... That game has problems. There's no doubt. That game really has problems, but
it's a ton of fun. Like, the strategy and the new crazy things you can find in that game are great. Like, 1 minute you're like, we're totally screwed, and the next minute you're shooting through a wall and killing. It's a ton of fun. Like, I don't know if it's a great FPS, but it's a hell of a fun multiplayer experience.
Yeah, I mean, that'll probably come up in the next category, which is multiplayer experience. Yes, Dodger.
What about, like, do you think that any game that's a first-person battle game of some sort could count in this category?
Are you about to bring up Vermintide?
I was gonna ask, how you thought
even
a game like
Vermintide,
Vermintide would.
I would put in the
stack up.
next category instead of this one.
Well, I think there's a
Like,
lot
I
of
think-
there's
Yeah,
a lot
I
of
guess that's true, because
crossover.
it was like team-based, more like
Yeah, it's a fantastic, like, playing with other people game. There's a lot of games like that where they added, especially this year, there were a lot of games that added new crazy mechanics into, like, we're going to play multiplayer stuff online. And I don't know if any of them qualify as good FPS games, but there was a
Right.
lot of, like, this year, everyone was like, we're going to try something new with this online thing. We're going to try and get people to play all these different, basically, mode games.
Yeah,
It's the Capture the Flag mode game, and it's the Siege mode game, and so there's a lot of that, like Hunt the Monster mode game, or Get in Your Giant Mech mode game. Like, that was, but they're all multiplayer games that are just, I think the next category.
Yeah, the next category, I think we can definitely bring up a lot of that, because there's a ton of stuff I'd love to say about Evolve as well. I mean, you could. I would certainly not introduce Evolve in the best first-person shooter category. But I'd love to talk about its multiplayer experience, because it's simultaneously like one of the biggest kind of disappointments I think I had this year, but also like did a lot of new things. Have we missed out on any kind of other FPS?
Like the Taken King is the only one I can think of, if that counts. Like
as an expansion for Destiny.
Yeah, it's an expansion. It doesn't really.
I mean, I don't know if I mean we counted Old Blood. I think Taken King's. I mean, Old Blood is an expand alone.
It's standalone, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, it's how much Destiny did you play though, Danny? Because
I haven't played that much. There's a massive contingent here in the GameSpot office that have been playing it all year. And
the Taken
King.
The Taken King is fundamentally, like, infinitely better than vanilla. Like, it is way better, especially for a person who I hate Destiny.
Yeah,
It
me
is
too.
he hates Destiny.
It is way better. Like, I think Destiny is garbage times a million, but even I will admit Taken King, like, was a blast to play that stuff. So it's like, all right, I still will never, like, actually like this game, but because I'm that nerd who has every friend in the world play it, I'm like, I guess I'll play with you guys. And I sit there and complain through the whole thing. I did not complain once. I was like, oh, that was a cool story. Now to never play this shit again. So yeah.
Yeah, you're not the guy that's on the treadmill every week doing the dailies, doing the weeklies, earning the various tokens and shit. I mean, I never had any interest in Destiny because I'm just like, I'm not going to play it on console, so unless you release this on PC, I'm not even going to get invested in the idea of it. And it's a shame because that's like, that game would work perfectly on PC. There's not even a question that it would. It would be awesome, I think. I'll play it. If they eventually bring it over to PC, I'll pick it up immediately, and I'll probably enjoy quite a lot of it. So the conclusion on best first-person shooter is, we want to give it to Overwatch, but you won't let us because it's not out yet.
Damn right. Don't do it.
2015's best shooter of 2016.
Yes, that's exactly
so
what
sad.
it is.
That's so sad.
Yeah. That is exactly what it is, but yeah, it's weird to say Black Ops, but it might be.
No shame in it. Some of the Black Ops things they released this year are awesome. Zombie mode is legit cool, so I can't complain.
Yeah, it just feels wrong saying that. There just wasn't there wasn't a really good single player FPS this year.
I wish I could have said Battlefront. I wish I could have been like, Battlefront was great, guys. It's shit. Battlefront.
Best sounding
Yeah.
and looking.
Best
maybe.
looking, best sounding pile of crap there ever was.
Yeah, that is true. All right, let's move on to best multiplayer experience.
This is gonna be fun.
Yep, there's definitely some crossover with the last category here, but it does, of course, allow you to bring up things like Splatoon, which I assume is the first thing that Dodger wants to bring up.
Splatoon was the first one that I wrote down.
Yeah, talk to me about Splatoon.
I mean, I just think Splatoon gave you something totally different in that genre. Like, it gave you totally different sorts of weapons. You had to think about the space in a completely different way. The fact that you could be a kid now and a squid now, like, just all
Squid
of
and a
it
kid,
across the board was all something that you had to learn, right? It wasn't the same old. So, and I have a bunch of friends who still play it like every day. I think that game is really fun.
You're also a kid
Snort.
and a squid.
And a squid. It now.
Uh-huh.
I didn't get around to playing it, but both my wife and my son really
You never played it,
enjoyed
really?
Yeah, I mean, I just wasn't into the idea of
What?
it.
Don't use the paintbrush. Everyone will hate you.
I mean, that sounds like a great reason to use the paintbrush,
You can
actually.
use the roller, but please don't use the paintbrush or the bucket. They're just shitty weapons.
It was good to see a new piece of original IP from Nintendo this year that actually like really seemed to work, and their model of kind of holding content back and sort of drip feeding it to you, but for free, sort of through events and updates. I weirdly enough don't actually hate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got a bit of flack for that when the game sort of launched. There was some people saying that there wasn't really that much. Not that there wasn't much content, but there could be more. But they did a pretty great job of being really consistent. Like, there was new weapons coming. It seemed like every week there was something.
Oh, yeah. And, like, when the game first came out, they were like, okay, you can play with your friends, but you can't be in, like, the same team yet. Like, you can't go into a lobby as a team. And there's no ranked mode yet, but it should be out by this time. And every single time, they released it earlier than they said they were going to.
Oh, cool.
Right.
So it was like, I can't be mad. I can't be mad at you.
Yeah. It's an interesting idea because I think that most people, when told that there's content like on the disc that they can't get at yet, get very upset about that. And I think mostly it's due to the number of companies that have put that behind a paywall, which is obviously the dickiest of dicks.
Yeah.
That's not okay at all. But if you're releasing it free, the argument that you can make is that by consistently putting new stuff in, even if you've had to hold stuff back to do it, you keep the community interested and engaged. And in a primarily multiplayer game that's behind like a $60 box copy, you might be in a position where you kind of have to do that. Because it really does maintain the interest. It keeps people coming back to it. And it means that the game doesn't start to enter that multiplayer death spiral that can kill off so many multiplayer-focused games.
Another game that did that really well this year, both with paid-for stuff and like supplemented with free stuff, is definitely my favorite, which is Rocket League. Have you guys played much of it?
Yeah. I'm with you on that.
It didn't sync up very well for me, but I know everybody loves it.
It didn't gel with me at
so
all.
I can't,
I don't like it at all.
I can't say
I'm
anything
with you.
bad about
I'm with you on this. We see eye to eye. Rocket League was a riot. That game is, I don't know why. Like, it's a game that I fundamentally should hate. I love it. I love the shit out of it. I think it has to do with like who you first played it with. Like that sort of like sets the tone for the rest of the time, because when you play with, like, it's one of those games. It kind of reminded me of playing through Borderlands, where by myself it was just a miserable experience. But you throw in like two insane friends, and you suddenly are having the wackiest, like, crazy time of your life. And that's exactly what it was. And I think as a multiplayer experience, which is what this category is, like, Rocket League nails it. Like, that is, in order to have fun, you have to play with other people. That's a multiplayer experience, is what it is.
For sure, and like so many multiplayer games, you can maybe you play them locally, you play them with strangers. Like, it just works across the board. Like, we play a bunch in the office here, like at lunchtime and after work. I play with randoms online. My girlfriend plays it. She doesn't even play that many games, but we probably played about 40 hours of Rocket League, just sitting down tapping away the game. And I was talking to one of the guys in the office about this yesterday. Like, I'm somebody who loves football, soccer games like Pro Evolution and FIFA, and I play them every year. And I've barely touched either of those games since I've gotten into Rocket League, and it's because it scratches, like, it's the best like football game I think I've ever played, because unlike those games where, and I'm a huge football fan, I'm a huge football player, those games are like where you're like controlling an entire team. There's something about like the sort of tactile, you lining up a shot, picking where it's going, and then trying to like make sure that you have the right trajectory and power to make that work. There's something super enjoyable to like humans about that, like throwing a ball, which in the same way first person shooters do, where you like you point and shoot and you have it in your head where you want to hit, and if it does, it feels good. Like, Rocket League is constantly that way. So even when you lose games, and like, I love games like, you know, talk about StarCraft 2 or something, like, I love those games. I feel so frustrated when I lose them, and that's not the game's fault, but that's just the loop of that. But in Rocket League, like, I can lose games, but as long as I feel like I've contributed to the team, like, then I've had a great experience. And I don't know, I've played that game for like 5 minutes, and I've played that game for like 3 hours with randoms and with friends, and it's always fun.
I think you're absolutely right. There's a weird thing with that game where FIFA, for example, somewhere deep in your subconscious, you're not controlling player X.
Yeah.
That human is doing his own, and you're playing a game. But this, somewhere deep down, you're like, you know what? I can see myself outside of a little shitty stadium controlling a little remote control car, and the car has to hit this giant ball around. Like, you're right. It's like it's a different feeling when you're playing the game. And I don't know if it's because you're controlling the one character, and because it's so quick and moving, and there's a physics to the ball, or I don't know what it is, but you're absolutely right. There's something weird and special about the game that I truly love.
It's like when you score a screamer in FIFA from outside the box. Like, yeah, okay, it's because you were playing as Real Madrid and you hit square and the button that means put it in the top corner. Whereas when you do it in Rocket League and the ball's bouncing, like, it reminds me of times when I've been playing real world football or soccer when somebody passes me the ball and there's no goalkeeper, and I know I just, like, the stress and anticipation of making sure you hit the ball in the right spot.
Yeah.
It feels like the exact same thing. And in a way, like, it even teaches you things like when you're playing on a team in any sport, like where you're supposed to be in the field at any time. Like, they're striking, so I should probably sit here in case the ball breaks that way. Like, it translates almost one-to-one to how, the wheels sort of turn in my brain when I'm playing a game of football with my mates. And I think that's it's super powerful.
That's an interesting point that you bring up, that Rocket League feels more like football than football games do.
Yeah, completely. Like,
yeah, because it is that direct control. Like you said, it's not, you're not giving a command to a player to do something. You're doing the exact thing because of how physics-based that game actually is.
Yeah, the car is a foot. Like,
yes.
That's
a very fast, inaccurate, fucking crazy flipping foot. Yeah. I can see that argument, totally.
I don't know. Rocket League isn't satisfying for me because I so rarely actually hit the ball.
I mean, I find it very frustrating because I'm awful at it.
Speeding
no
toward
doubt.
it, and it looks like it's right in fucking front of me, and then I just somehow go right by it. And I'm like, how the shit?
Yeah, I mean,
crazy.
To me, I have no interest in getting good at the game at all. And as a result, because I suck at it, I fucking hate it. But I don't want to play it because it's football, and I don't like football. I don't play video games to play football. Even if it is in a car, it's still football. I'm not all right with that. So that's why I don't. That's why I don't play it, because it is fundamentally football. I would
love to see the statistics for that, like what the crossover is for people who either consume that sport or sports like it via either playing or watching or playing FIFA, and the people who play Rocket League. I bet that'd be a really interesting statistic.
Yeah, it would be. I'm intrigued to see that. But I have seen people having a lot of fun with it. I can definitely see why they would. Like, it's obvious why. It's not just... I think, like, the Borderlands comparisons, like, is wrong, because I think Borderlands is a crappy game that's made more tolerable by other people, whereas Rocket League is an inherently good game that's made best by playing with the friends that you have the camaraderie with.
Well, I think what I was going for there was the experience Dodger has, where, like, if you have friends, it makes your shitty play style a little more tolerable so you can learn how to play, rather than going in it alone and then having to suffer through, like, I don't know what I'm doing, and this is unfun, and all I'm doing is losing, and you're out. Like, that's kind of like what I was going for. Like, in Borderlands, if you play by yourself, it's a lot of, like, I'm doing the same awful stuff over and over. This isn't fun. I'm out. And so, yeah, I think that's kind of what I was going for. I'm not saying it's the same thing, but...
Yeah. Friends distract you from the fact that you're playing Borderlands. That's my argument with Borderlands in multiplayer. Whereas with Rocket League, there's the inherent team aspect to it, which is why, of course, I'd like to bring back up Rainbow Six Siege, because that is a game which absolutely benefits from being on voice with people. Like, if there was a category for the game you better fucking be on voice chat for this year, I think Rainbow Six Siege would run away with it. It is a very tactical game, kind of in the same way. I don't know if it is in the same way that Counter-Strike is. Because I think, like, you can carry in Counter-Strike. I don't think you can carry in Rainbow Six Siege, really.
Rainbow Six Siege is so incredibly team and communication based.
It's fucking tense, man.
Yeah. But there's times, if you're a really creative, oh god, what are they called? The bad guys. I'm trying to think what
Defenders?
Well, they have, like, a special...
Because then there's no actual.
We're
there's actually
Blue Spear or whatever the hell they're called.
Now, the
but,
weird thing about Siege is there's no actual bad guys. Like, every operator's actually from, like, a special forces unit, like SAS, Geigen, SWAT, etc., which makes the whole thing really weird. Because, like,
All
the
you
SAS
know
are
is
attacking the US SWAT team for some reason. I just don't know why that's happening. But you can ignore that. You just completely ignore that because it's multiplayer and stupid. But there's a lot. I think I get what you're saying. You can do a lot of damage by being creative.
A creative defender, like if they're still coming at you, and if it's like 1v3 as a defender, you can kill all three. Like there's creative ways to do it. Like it's but you have to be.
But it's
creative.
probably
Like, you
not
can't just
because
be
of
like,
your
"I'm gonna
gun
sit in this
skill."
room." Oh yeah, no.
That's the interesting difference, I think, between like Counter-Strike and Rainbow Six. The 3-on-1 situations where the one guy is victorious is not because he's an incredibly good shooter, because I don't think it's that hard to be a decent shooter when you're aiming down sights in Rainbow Six Siege. You know, as opposed to Counter-Strike, where learning how to shoot well is actually difficult, genuinely difficult.
Also,
good save, Dodger.
Yeah, well done.
Twitch is the best character in that game. I don't care what nobody says. Hashtag Twitch is the best character.
Yeah, so the... Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Dodger.
I was going to say, I think for people who... I know that we're all super salty at it right now because we're in a tournament, but for anybody who enjoys Blood Bowl 2 is like a really good expansion off of what Blood Bowl 1 was. Like, improved a lot of stuff as a multiplayer experience.
I'm going to disagree with you on that. I think...
Really?
Yeah, I think that it is definitely a much more polished and well-presented game than Blood Bowl 1 was because that was jank as shit. But it's inherently still exactly the same game that you're either going to kind of love or hate. It is, strangely enough, though, a game that, to me, is only tolerable in multiplayer because the bullshit of that game is not tolerable when you're playing against the AI. Like, I really need someone else with me to yell at when the dice don't go my way.
Yeah.
Which is why you can get away with a lot of that stuff in board games as opposed to in video games because you're with other people and that failure becomes sort of a shared piece of fun. Like that you can all kind of laugh about it when you're in a social group. In a single player game, you know, like playing campaign in Blood Bowl, you just want to throw your monitor out of the window. Because you don't have anywhere else to vent how bullshit that 3 1s in a row roll was.
Right.
You know, in that sense, Blood Bowl is fucking terrible. But as a multiplayer experience, you are right. It is actually a good multiplayer experience. It's almost required to play it with somebody else just to sink the salt somewhere. I don't think they like improved it like from all that much of a technical level though. It does crash less, it does disconnect less, but then multiplayer is still inherently the same as it was the last time.
I just think it looks so much better, which
It
I know
does.
it doesn't affect the mechanics, but like it just makes the experience of playing it more fluid.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, no doubt about that. I mean, that's mostly because the first Blood Bowl was a jank piece of shit.
Yeah.
There's
It was
no
fun,
doubt.
though.
Yeah, we played in spite of that game. You know,
Yeah.
it was hard to do. What else on the multiplayer front? I'm going to bring up Duck Game because you guys haven't mentioned it yet.
Duck Game is amazing.
Fucking
Thank you for
Duck
bringing it
Game.
up.
Love Duck Game to fucking bits.
That game is so boring to me.
Why don't you like
Whatever.
Duck Game?
I don't know. I've played it like 4 times now, and I'm just like, I don't understand what's fun about this game. I don't know.
It's a ton of fun.
It's like getting thrown into a new level every time with a bunch of different weapons and the frantic scramble to get something that actually works and isn't a fucking trombone. And the instant kill stuff, the actual like surprising amount of skill that game can involve and the cool tricks that you can play.
Quack.
Man, I'm looking through the eye of the needle here. I'm going to be that asshole who had never heard of Duck Game, and this looks
That game
fucking
is great.
mental.
It's mental. Yeah, that game is my Smash Brothers.
I love it. It's so funny. That game is so silly. It is a great just
Oh,
sit
this
on
is
the
the
couch.
best
be
quote.
sort of
Dodger's going to love this. Fraglamat says, it's like Towerfall, but fun.
No! 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 I refuse! Boo! Boo!
Yes.
No, Towerfall is so much more fun than Duck Game. Duck Game is trash.
No.
Disagree.
Towerfall doesn't have an
Strongly
online
disagree.
mode. I got you might be right. Towerfall might be a better game, but I can't fucking play online, so I'm not gonna play it. It's that simple.
Fix your game, Towerfall.
Yeah, don't get me started on the developers. Like, my artistic vision is why we don't have multiplayer. It's like, no, because you don't want to spend the money and time making it. Like, be
I
honest
don't
about
give
that.
a fuck. It's a great game.
Yeah, but Duck Game has resulted in me laughing a shitload this year. And yelling a lot.
I have one. I have another game.
Emperor
Go for it.
Dodgetine. Yes.
And, yes.
Keep talking and nobody explodes.
Oh yeah.
Obviously,
That's
an
fun.
amazing multiplayer experience.
Yeah.
Yes. That's got to go up there with just something for sheer uniqueness. You know, you were mentioning earlier, Jesse, the whole idea of, hey, we got different modes. Like, there's a game that's entirely based on a completely new style of playing multiplayer.
Yeah. Where only
That
one
game,
person
so
actually
fun.
plays the physical game.
Yes.
And everyone else is just basically their walkthrough. Like, they're backseat gaming a game that they can't see. It's an amazing concept. It's
Good.
it's super fun. Ultra frustrating, ridiculous if you communicate poorly, but oh my god, is it just it's a blast.
Nice. We had a
That
game.
joke
We did
bombed.
a quick look on Giant Bomb for it, where we did like a 10-minute bomb with, I think it was 8 different modules.
Oh.
and I was playing. I was shouting and trying to disarm the bloody thing, and we did it with 7 seconds left. I think it was.
Wow.
It was like, and that moment is probably one of like the most like satisfying moments I had in games in 2015.
Yeah, it actually reminds me of the feeling that I used to get when raiding in WoW. When you just
Yeah,
took
totally.
the boss down. It's like, shit, we're 5 seconds away from being wiped, and then you just manage it, and everyone's just so fucking happy. Yeah, there's that game's kind of based around that whole idea. You've got to give them credit as well for creating what is basically a local multiplayer game, but creating it in such a way that you could very easily play it over VoIP without actually really losing anything from doing that.
Yeah, totally.
That takes a lot, and there's a couple of companies that have realized that this is a good idea and are kind of adapting. The other one being the Jackbox guys with Jackbox Party Pack 1 and 2.
Yes.
They've realized that, yeah, these games are really, really fun if you've got 6 people in the same room, but it's impractical to necessarily have that all the time. So if you want people to actually buy the game and not have it sit on their shelf unplayed for 6 months, you've got to make it so that they can play with their internet friends. And you've got to design the game and adapt the game in a way that works. And they did that, like, kind of, I think it was from Quiplash onwards. They started putting in, like, this is a mode for streamers. So basically, we put a longer delay on it, so that if you're playing with people who are watching the stream, you know, the 20-second kind of latency doesn't matter, and they can still get their entries in and stuff. Although I think the way we mostly play the Jackbox games is we use Skype's screen sharing feature. Mm-hmm. So we don't have the latency problem. One guy just shares the screen who's hosting the game so everyone else can see it, and then we just play that way.
That makes sense.
That actually, you know, I would definitely bring that up as a good set of multiplayer experiences. Jackbox Party Pack 2 has a lot of great fun stuff in it. Just being able to play more Fibbage. That's all I need. It's like, Fibbage is that good. I'm going to say, like, I am going to be the person that says I don't like Quiplash that much.
Oh really?
Yeah, I don't
Do you
think...
like Drawful?
Yes.
Which one is Quiplash?
So Quiplash is the one where they give you... They give you, like, a question, like... you know, worst place to do X or whatever, and then 2 people out of the group have to give an answer that is funny, and then it comes, and then the answers are presented. Once everyone has answered all the questions, the answers are then presented versus each other, and it comes down to a vote.
I played that game with a bunch of comedians, and
Oh, wow.
my God, was I bad.
Did you get
It's like-
destroyed?
Literally none of my answers can ever compare to your wit in the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, that game on stream often comes down to pandering to the chat in a huge way.
Yeah, big time.
Like realizing what the chat is going to vote for, since it has that inclusion of the chat inherently in the game, where you can have them vote as well, and then just pandering to whatever the chat is going to vote for. And that happened when I was playing with Cry all the time. All the fucking time this occurred. It was actually really fucking annoying at one point. It was just like, I think at one point, just any answer with the word Darkside Phil in it was getting the most votes. So it didn't even matter if it made sense. And PewDiePie at one point was brought up and was getting the most votes. And Come In Hair. It's like, it didn't even matter what the context was. As long as you had Come In Hair in there somewhere, it was going to get the most votes because naughty words. It's like,
Right. Ooh.
Yeah. Oh, FOV sliders was one at one point. That was just infuriating. It's like, that wasn't even funny. That was never funny. It's definitely not funny now. But I love the fact that these new multiplayer experiences are coming and actually doing well. And also that, like, Twitch and improved things like VoIP has allowed people to actually engage in those things. And it has enabled those new game types. I love it. I want to see way, way more of that. And all the games that I played this year that were like that, I think I really, really enjoyed.
I keep feeling like I'm forgetting one, though.
I mean, we already mentioned Vermintide, yeah?
Well, we kind of did.
Mentioned it during
we glossed over
the shooter section.
And Evolve as well, you need to sort of get into a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes.
And was Titanfall this year, or was that
No,
last
that was last year.
Last year.
That was actually the year before that. Wasn't that 2013, actually, Titanfall? Or was it? No, it was early 2014. Early 2014, yeah. So
well, I mean, Evolve is part of that, like, continued concept. Like, we're going to try something new multiplayer, but it's only going to focus around this one
specific idea, this specific concept. To me, Evolve was like, great concept, you didn't flesh it out anywhere near enough.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it seemed like they were beta testing that game, or at least they were like showing it off at so many conferences, and they were showing it to at least us in the mainstream press a lot before it came out, and it always felt like, okay, we have this really, like, the best version of this game would be really good, but we just haven't found it yet, and I don't think they found it by the time they released it. I think it was a really good idea, but it just never really worked.
Yes, it was the basis of a good game mode without the rest of what you need to make it a good game mode. The argument that I made, I think, in my video about Evolve is that the game devolves into glorified hide-and-seek, which as an idea is fine, but you need more stuff in there. I don't want to have to be chasing the fucking monster around for 5 minutes, not knowing where it is, because that's boring. I'm just holding down the shift button and running. I think that those maps should have had more PvE aspects to them. The addition of the little creatures, which would give you buffs, was nice, but it needed more of that kind of stuff. Like, there need to be like a side objective that the monster could maybe go and destroy. Like, the monster can now go and destroy the power generator, and if they manage to destroy the power generator, it's a risk to go there because the defenders might be waiting for them, the hunters might be waiting for them there. But if they destroy the power generator, then like you lose a certain ability, like for the rest of the game, and the hunters could maybe do a similar thing. That would, I think, have made the game a lot more engaging. It would have created flashpoints within the map that would have naturally encouraged combat to occur there, as opposed to the combat sort of happening because you happen to stumble upon the monster at some point.
So basically, combining the two type of map things that we got. So it's like combine the generator and the eggs, so the hunters have something to do, like hunt down the eggs, and the monster can go to the generator, and it's all happening on one map. And so you have to defend certain points. Like,
just put all of that in there.
If it wasn't two separate maps.
Yeah,
like, that's ridiculous.
Having them two separate modes defeats the point of the exercise, I think. You know, you just got to throw a bit more in there and make it so that you always have something to do that isn't just... Because, like, a lot of the time, even playing the monster, especially early on, is like, all right, I'm walking and eating.
Life simulator.
Yeah, and the other guys are like, sprint, gotta keep sprinting. I'm like, oh. And it's a shame, because that game had some really cool little aspects.
Follow the dog.
Follow the dog. It was follow the dog simulator for a lot of it. It's like, find the footprints, look for the evidence, look for the carcasses and all that kind of thing. Some really interesting and cool ideas in there. And just the game mode just lacked everything. And the game's dead now on PC. Absolutely dead. You look at the concurrent player numbers, it's dead. I think that they really botched the launch of that game. They gave people the impression that there was a ton of content hidden behind paywalls, which actually wasn't true.
No, it was just bad marketing.
Yeah, really bad marketing.
Nightmare. They had like 12 different versions of that game.
God, it was confusing. They confused everybody. As it even confused me as to like, well, okay, so are these when are these hunters available? How am I going to get them? You know, I'm not going to buy the PC Monster Race edition for $150 fucking dollars or whatever. Because I don't even care that they released with a bunch of skins on day one. The problem is that the perception of them at that point had got so bad that people completely overreacted to those skins, and that's their fault. That's their PR fault. You know,
totally.
They fucked
if there's
that up.
4 versions of that game which are like above $60, then people are going to feel like they're being cheap by spending $60.
They're being screwed, which really then kind of not. But again, you're the developer. You've got to convince them. It's the same with Siege. They've got to convince people that this is worth it. I think Siege is doing a bit of a better job, but it's saddled by the fact that it's fucking Ubisoft. So they're having to fight against a lot of public perception there. I'd like to bring up Lovers in a Dangerous Space-Time.
I was literally about to say that. That was the one that I was trying to
Did you get a
remember.
chance to play it, Dodger?
I haven't played it, but I know so many
it.
people who have that
Gotta
I
do it.
figured we should probably talk about it.
Super fun game.
Love it. That is... I love co-op games that are genuinely built around the concept of co-op from the ground up. If I want to bring up Borderlands again. Borderlands was not built around the concept of co-op from the ground up. There is nothing that you can do in Borderlands that you with more people than you can't do with one person. Like, it's not inherently built around the idea that you have to have other people complementing each other. It's just a bonus. In Lovers, you really have to have somebody, because the idea is you have a ship and you can only man 2 stations at any given time. But there's like 6 or 7 stations to man. So it's constant communication. And it's constant teamwork, and panic, and panic, and panic. I had a blast with that. That was probably the game I had the most fun playing with my wife this year. It was awesome.
I want to play it with Sam when I visit him.
So good. It's so good. Again, that's a game that lacks online multiplayer, and I really honestly think that you should have it, because you can easily just get on VoIP and have the same experience.
Yeah.
Very easily, and that it would really be nice if they implemented that. It would help their sales too. I wonder how. I don't think that game sold very well, did it?
Really?
Let's have a look at Steam Spy. Oh fuck! 15,000 copies.
Whoa!
And that game came out in September. Bear in mind, I pushed the shit out of that game, and that game is absolutely going to be in my top 10 this year. But I understand why people don't buy it, because it's local co-op on PC. You can't do that. Like, you can't do it. Stop, please. You know, I don't mind people including like couch co-op and split screen modes in PC. In fact, I think that's great. Please, by all means, do it. But don't make it only that, because you can't sell it. You just can't. I don't know if you guys have heard about the new Nvidia thing that they're working on that you can try now that actually lets you play local co-op over the internet.
I know that a lot of companies are trying to turn that into a thing.
We'll see. We'll see if that works.
Yeah, it basically uses streaming. So it streams the game, and it takes the controller inputs from the other guy, and then sends them over the internet to the guy that's hosting the game. So there's obviously a bit of latency, a little bit of latency involved in there, but with some games, it actually works just fine. I think Lovers would be one of them. That would be a game that you could use that NVIDIA, whatever it is. I don't know what the name of it is. I've never tried it.
Yeah, we tried it in the office with some big stuff like Witcher and whatnot. But those are games where you're looking like at a 3D horizon where lots of the frames are changing.
Yes.
Whereas a game like Lovers, where it's flat, would be
very simple, and it doesn't require like lightning fast reactions. You could probably get away with a little bit of latency there. I don't know exactly what it's called. It's like it's all linked into the whole NVIDIA grid and sort of streaming thing. But I think it's called NVIDIA Share, maybe? A game share? Yeah. It's worth trying. Like, there are some games that would work pretty well for. We managed to gloss over Vermintide, even though we said we were going to talk about Vermintide. So let's maybe talk about Vermintide before we wrap this category up and take a break, unless anyone else has a game that super needs to be here. Pretty much everyone here, I guess, had a chance to play Vermintide?
A little bit.
Didn't.
I liked it a
watched a lot of people play Vermintide.
I watched a lot of people play it, but I didn't play it. Yeah.
Yeah. Jesse, your opinions on Vermintide?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's a entertaining multiplayer experience. I don't know that I'd call it the best of the year.
I wouldn't call it the best of the year. I'd definitely bring it up as a contender, but it's not the best of the year certainly. But to me, it's a really competent horde mode co-op game.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, that's absolutely right. It had shades of playing Left 4 Dead way back when, and you have moments where you feel like, oh my god, I'm having some of the fun, like, crazy experiences I had playing that game, but it's just like not quite there. But it's still like grab your friends and just slaughter a billion little rat people.
Yep.
And you have a great time. Like,
grab your sword and fight the horde kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a good, like, my best suggestion on how to play it: pick a night, grab some friends, grab some beer, and just murder shit. And it's super fun. Yeah, and it's there's a few points where you're gonna have to be like, what's our strategy here? How are we gonna do this? But there's a lot of times where it's just like, F it, let's go ham and kill some people.
Murder everybody.
Yeah.
There's a really cool feeling of getting right in the thick of it because it's a very melee-centric game. So getting in the thick of it with your friends, there's definitely a lot of camaraderie there. You know, playing one of the tank characters and saving one of your friends who just got caught in the middle of a bunch of rat men. It has that Left 4 Dead feel, but it's more visceral because of the melee focus. And I actually enjoy it more than Left 4 Dead as a result of that. So I dig that a lot. And the loot system needs some work, but I like that it's there. It gives me a reason to keep playing. I will say that some of the sessions are too long, and not getting loot just because you failed at the last hurdle is a fucker. That's a real... I don't want to play with pubbies as a result, because they screw it up too much. They really screw it up too much. But it's a fun game, and I think it's getting better. Like, the new update, the free update they put in, just added a ton of new loot content and fixed a lot of stuff, so I'm really happy about that.
Oh, if we're not going to talk necessarily the best multiplayer experience, I'll just throw on the list, shout out to StarCraft for Archon mode. That shit is so much fun.
Sure.
Yeah, full disclosure, we were paid to like it. Like, quite literally.
Co-op mode.
Only the co-op mode, though. We shat on the campaign last week for a reason, but we did do a little pre-release promo thing of us playing the Archon mode.
Is different.
Archon is fun.
Mode.
I do want to see Archon add more content. Definitely. Because it is a great mode with not enough in it. Like, it has really only about 6 missions, and it currently has 6 commanders. They've announced the new one they're adding, and the new mission they're adding as well. The more stuff they add to that Archon mode, and the more challenging they make it, the better that mode. Sorry, I keep calling it Archon mode, which is wrong.
You're talking about co-op.
Co-op mode, yes, the
Archon's
co-op mode.
Different.
Archon mode's completely different. That it's still really, really fun. Like, it distills the essence of RTS down into kind of a digestible form, lets you play with a friend, and lets you build wacky and crazy units and use powers which kind of work well with each other. Like, you feel really overpowered in that mode all the time, which I think is really great.
And you don't, when you play most multiplayer RTS games, especially StarCraft, you feel almost compelled to build certain things because you don't want to lose. But when you're playing co-op with your friend, it's like, screw it. You know what? I am going
this.
Medics and fire bats only. Like, and no one cares. It's fun. It's fun.
It's a really good way to enjoy some RTS without the stress. And that's, I think, like, it's actually what Legacy of the Void went out of its way to try and deal with, because they realized StarCraft is one of the scariest fucking games in multiplayer that exists. It's so intimidating to a lot of people. So they came up with some modes that would try and make it easier to get some StarCraft, but not really be so intimidated by it. So I applaud them for that. They just need more. They need a lot more in that co-op mode. But you can play that mode for free, which is pretty fucking great. You just download the starter edition, you can actually play co-op straight up and not have to pay for it, which is insane, actually. Like, I'm just like, what? You're giving away so much here, but it is great. So, conclusion on best multiplayer experience, we'll just go round the room. Name your best multiplayer experience. Go, Dodger.
Dodger, go.
Fuck, I'm trying to remember everything we talked about.
Splatoon, was it?
Splatoon is the first one that I mentioned. It's the first one that came to my mind. I think that it did really good things for, like, the multiplayer genre, but I think probably the best multiplayer experience is Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes.
Okay. Jesse?
Rocket League. I'm gonna go with Rocket League.
Danny?
Yeah, Rocket League. Online and local. Just I played it this morning.
To me, it is between Lovers and Duck Game.
Gotta pick one. You can't say between.
Well, I don't have to pick one. It's my show, but I'm gonna give it to Duck Game on the sole basis that it's a fucking riot and hilarious,
Quack.
and there is a quack button that you can pitch up and down. No other game has this feature. People are like, I want to see more content in my games. There's your fucking content right there. Alternating, modulating, pitch modulated quacking.
I gotta play this game.
Oh, it's too fucking good. I'm very surprised, like, bearing in mind you're in an office with other people you could play it with, so you haven't played it yet. It's too fucking good. It's too good. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we are going to be moving on to Best RPG.
I love that we've only done two.
Yeah.
We have a giant
I
list.
kind of saw this coming.
That's why before we even started, TV was like, we're not going to get through this.
We have no chance of getting through all of this at all. It's like, I don't even know if 2 shows are going to be enough for this, but it's cool. All right, we're coming back after the break. Best RPG, folks. Don't go anywhere. You are watching the Co-Optional Podcast. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Co-Optional Podcast, or the Co-Opty Awards, I guess you could call it.
The Co-Opties.
The
We just need
Co-Opties.
someone to fan art a Co-Opty. What does
The
a Co-Opty
Co-Opties.
look like?
I don't know.
Send us your image.
I don't know if I want their image, actually.
It's just TV's hand like this on a plaque.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
much.
and then it's little chibi Jesse and Dodger wrapped around it, hugging the finger.
Ah, yes.
Perfect.
Indeed.
There we go.
Music
we
in
did
this
it.
live show, by the way, of course, provided by Miracle of Sound. His new album, Level 6, and yes, I'm shilling for my friend, Fuck You, is available now on miracleofsound.bandcamp.com.
Fucking sell out, TV.
We shilling for
Hey, I'm honest about it. That's all that fucking
Shilling like
matters.
villains.
I'll shill the hell out of him. Great album. Okay, so we're going to move on to Best RPG, and I'm going to let Jesse talk first because I know exactly what he's about to say.
Yeah,
Witcher
no
3.
need to talk. No need to talk. Witcher 3. It's easy. I don't even have to describe why it's the best. It is. It's the best RPG of the year.
You actually should describe it because otherwise it's boring. So,
Oh, all right.
sum up why
it
Witcher
has-
3 is the best.
It has story, music, gameplay, characters, setting, the fantasy you need in RPG. It has all the like bonus RPG fun things like the crafting and the like side quests and the random shit and the open world that isn't boring. It literally has everything you could want in an RPG.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Sorry.
No, I mean it has it. No, just say I was gonna go for a joke about how Fallout 4 is shit after that, but it's okay. We all know it, so I don't need a joke.
I
And-
don't think Fallout 4 should even be sniffing the best RPG category
Yeah.
this year.
Not even close.
Because it isn't. Like, it's barely an RPG. It is the
Yeah.
least RPG of any Fallout game since Brotherhood of fucking Steel, unless, of course, you count Shelter. And even Shelter let you manage your goddamn settlers, at least.
Yeah, Fallout 4 is an exercise in which way do you want to kill everyone.
Yeah.
RPG games usually give you a bit more agency than that, at least.
Yeah, or they're really honest about it, and they're Diablo, you know? It's like...
Yeah. Loot game.
For
yeah,
me,
Fallout 4 is a loot game, actually, yeah.
I totally agree with Jesse. Specifically because I hate open world games, and this game actually inspires me to want to walk around and find quests. And also the knowledge that side quests are really important, even if they don't feel like they're important at the time. They can affect the world, and they can even affect like the main story. And that sort of intricacy in the game is so important to how dedicated and like how much you allow yourself to commit to that world, right? And getting really wrapped up in it. I just think that the sort of things that people can sometimes find boring or bogging down the game actually improve it. And that's really hard to do.
I think that with an open world, the interesting term that always gets used is sandbox, right? But weirdly enough, sandbox is like described as a positive, whereas I view sandbox for what it actually is. It's a box full of fucking sand and nothing else. Like, a good open world to me is one that I have a real desire to explore because I know I'm going to stumble across something really awesome. And there are loads of open world games that don't. Like, they really don't. Just Cause 3 does not. I do not have a desire. The only desire I really had in that game to explore was to fly over to the volcano and see if there was anything there. Turns out there wasn't. That was a waste of time. I'm not going to find too many surprises in that really affect the game, because the game never has the ability to do that. Like, I can't really find some like hidden weapon that I can then use or whatever, or something really fucking awesome. I was disappointed that they claimed there was a boat in that game called Whale Shark, and I hoped it was an actual rideable whale shark, because it's
awesome.
just cause. Why not? And it's not. It's like a fishing boat. It's shit. But with Witcher 3, and RPGs in particular have the ability to really create an open world where you are encouraged to explore, and because you'll find something that's not only interesting, but useful. Something that really affects the story. And the best open world games are the ones that lead you on this adventure through, you're almost stumbling through the world and stumbling upon interesting things. There's very few games that manage to do that. Witcher 3 does seem like it is one of those.
And there are so many games which the world is there almost as a, go do what you want. We've made all these experiences and you can pick which experience you want to do, and we want to make sure you have a good time. And in doing so, they sort of make you feel like you are the most powerful person in that world, which I guess, that's just a thing that we like in games. But there's something about The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt where, as Geralt, you know that your influence, even though eventually you do end up embarking on a sort of a world-saving aspect, like, you're just one person, and you know that you can't fix everything. So when you play games like Fallout and you're like, okay, do I want to side with the Brotherhood of Steel, or do I want to side with this crowd because I want this to be the end game? Whereas in The Witcher, be it what Dodger was saying with like side quests, that you don't know if they matter just to that person or if they're going to bleed in here, to like not bothering going down entire quest lines and not knowing if that's going to punish you. Like, even when you're making the final decision in quests, you're never really sure how it's going to pan out. So like, I ended up having a world in which, because of my decisions, now Novigrad was this massive, like, racist hellhole, which happened because of what I did. But it wasn't like I was foreseeing that and trying to manipulate the game. And I think there's something really powerful there, where it's a role-playing game in which your actions matter, but it's not like you're the puppet master, where you're
you
just
don't have this
plotting the
clairvoyant ability to see exactly what's going to happen as a result of your actions, which is, that is definitely a cool aspect of it. But we're talking a lot about the open world and not really kind of about it as an RPG, because I think if you focus a lot on the open world, then people are going to turn around and say, well, Fallout 4 had a really good open world. I was like, it did. The reason I don't think that Fallout 4 should get anywhere fucking near the RPG category is that almost every aspect of what I define a role-playing game as is missing from it. Mm-hmm. Like the ability to role-play, for instance. That's generally fairly important. When you got your dialogue system, when you cut a lot of your choices down to, I have enough charisma to get this thing, or I have to do this thing instead or shoot you, those are not really all that meaningful. You can get out of a lot of situations by talking, but it's so less nuanced than the previous games. An example of, like, in Fallout 1 and 2, if you have low enough intelligence, you have so few dialogue options, you're literally just grunting at people. It's a fundamentally different way to play that game, and there's actually very few RPGs that I think have done that. The only other one that I can think of off the top of my head is Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, when you played it as an Nosferatu. It was a completely different experience, because they cut you off from a bunch of content in the game, and they were willing to do that. And that does take some guts. Fallout 4 is, to me, like, terrified of giving the player that degree of agency.
Well, yeah, it's weird. It's weird that the hype built on that game was about how, like, you can make your own character, and you can be a man or a woman, and oh my god, the ways you can make your character look, and this is your RPG. We're going to give you this and this and this, and then it's not like...
And then it's not your RPG at all.
All it is making a character that looks like the way you want, and then after that, it's really bland. Like, it's really bland, and, like, it's disappointing. It's thoroughly a disappointment of a game.
It's a disappointment as an RPG to me. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I do enjoy roaming the wasteland, getting new guns and crafting shit, and the gunplay is a lot better, and the combat is a lot better than the previous Fallout iteration games. But that doesn't make it a good RPG. That's the problem I've got with it. It's almost as much of an RPG as fucking Mad Max is, as to say it isn't at all, really.
Yeah.
That's weird, isn't it? Because you think about it, like, in a lot of these open world games, you do a lot of these RPG-like things that Fallout does, like, oh, well, you level up and you gain skills. Like, yeah, you do that in Far Cry as well. There's this weird crossover now, I think. But what makes
it's the difference between seeing an open world in which you see all the options you have and you choose them, and having an open world in which you don't know what's going on and you just have to make choices on what's presented to you. So like Fallout 4, I enjoy Fallout 4 for what it is, but it doesn't feel like an RPG because I feel like I have the same like agency as I do in Just Cause, where I'm like, oh, I'm going to go to that island and liberate it, or like I'm going to join that crew and then finish the game that way. Whereas The Witcher, like, it feels real because you're sort of humbled and you don't really know, like, you're making decisions with your gut, which I don't feel like I'm doing a Fallout. I feel like I'm making decisions with a calculator.
Yeah. Well, do you think that the reason why Witcher translates better as a RPG is that in Fallout and a lot of RPG games recently, it suffers from that we're trying to make it a game where the main character is that sort of like
he's a Mary Sue, right?
Yeah, like the Twilight thing.
He's trousers, like, a pair of trousers that you put on.
Yeah, you're a bland, boring character, but that's because that's so everyone can be that bland, boring character that is. And
yep.
In The Witcher, you're playing as Geralt, and like it's his story and everything that happens to him. Like the fact that he has all these like there's so much shit he can get into, and it's all based off the fact that like, well, yeah, this is what this guy like. Yeah, he has all these problems with women because in the last 2 games he's banged everything that's moved. Like there's like you have all these things, and you're playing the character, you're role playing as that guy. And then in other games, and even like Dragon Age, for example, your character's like just a bland, like, yes, this is what we should do.
That wasn't the case in Origins, though. Like, and that's the why I'll defend Origins to the death over the other ones, because they weren't afraid to have a traditional dialogue system where the character was mute. Like having the character speak is not always bad, because I think in Witcher 3 it is great. And it's still a role-playing game, even though you're role-playing as a specific person, as Geralt, you are still role-playing. You still have those choices there. But Geralt is a well-written character, whereas in Dragon Age, you were able to use these dialogue choices to turn your blank slate into something else. Into someone fundamentally different that you could define and truly roleplay. That wasn't the case in Dragon Age 2 and Dragon Age 3, and I don't think it's the case in Fallout either, because of how simplistic those dialogue options are.
Mm. Yeah, and the character in Fallout has like so little weight in the world, like even less than previous games. Like they might as well just have like jacked into the Matrix and be a cipher. They might as well. They are basically you, the player. I am playing this video game because it's like, Jesus fuck, the world is weird, and here's all the stuff I can do. Whereas The Witcher, like what Jesse was saying, like you've got 2 games of emotional like decisions and weight and politics, and you are playing as Geralt, who is this like character who's getting pulled in like several directions. So it's almost like, like in creative worlds, it's always good to have an anchor. It's always good to be creatively limited in one way because it makes the other decisions more important.
Absolutely.
Like Geralt is almost a better character because there are certain things which are defined. This is what Geralt is, so your decisions have more of an impact on it.
And some people in chat right now are saying that the experience was totally different if you hadn't played the other Witcher games, which I'm sure is true. But like I hadn't played the other Witcher games, and I still was immediately immersed in Witcher 3. So I don't.
Yeah, same here.
Blew through story in that game. She was like, next story, next story, next story. Like, and that's it's an immersive, fun game where. And again, I'll say it again. I feel like a lot of the AAA RPGs have got caught up in we're trying to make this. The role-playing game is you, the player, are playing a role of like, I'm in this world. And that's not necessarily what an RPG needs to be. You're playing the role of X character, not the role of you in the world. Like, it makes it, I don't know. I feel like RPGs have lost their way.
That's an interesting idea. The idea, they're just putting yourself in the game. It's like, you're boring. You don't seem to understand. You're fucking boring.
Yeah.
What was Sky Williams' awesome fucking quote he keeps bringing up? Real life is not an anime, and even if it were, none of us are the fucking main character. You know?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We're boring. I don't want to be boring. I want to be Geralt. Geralt's interesting. I don't want to be me. Like, I suck. I sit around playing video games all day. I'd be useless in this fucking world. I mean, not to mention the other issues with Fallout 4. It's like, oh god, that's actually a minor spoiler, isn't it? I've got to be careful about that, because for people who haven't seen it.
Yes.
Okay, I'll be as generic as possible. There is this thing, which is really important to me, that I must go and rescue. Time is of the essence. I'm just going to wander off here for 30 hours and do some shit. It'll wait.
Yeah.
I mean, I know a lot of games suffer from that problem, but I actually I loved it, and this is a minor spoiler for a game that's like 3 years old, Deus Ex Human Revolution. I love the fact that the first sequence in that game, if you do what you usually do in video games, like, time is of the essence, the hostage situation, you got to get out there, and you don't, hostages are fucking dead by the time you get there. It's like, you idiot, we told you this was going to happen. But because your expectations of a video game is the game will wait for me, that wasn't the case, and I love it when games subvert that. Speaking of subversion, because we talked a lot about which we have got to talk about Undertale. It's not fair not to mention Undertale.
I'm so glad I wasn't the one who had to mention it.
No. The Undertale was definitely coming up. And there's certainly a couple of other games in this category that deserve mentioning. And, Dodge, you've played the most Undertale, I think, out of all of us?
Yes, probably. Played almost 30 hours of that game. God.
Which is impressive considering it's like an 8-hour game. But it does have replayability, so...
Yeah. Undertale is fantastic as an RPG, I think, because you're dropped into this world. Beginning story of this game is that monsters have been forced underground, and you're a human who falls into a hole, like a human child who falls into a hole. And from the very beginning of the game, you get to choose how you interact with the world, and depending on the choice that you make, it vastly changes the way that every single person in the game interacts with you. It employs lots of different mechanics, like different fights that you have are all completely different while employing like the same elements. The mechanics are always different. And I just think it's so fascinating. It makes you really think about who you are in the game, like how you want to live your life as this character. It's interesting.
I found that particular aspect of it to be kind of binary in many ways. The whole idea of fight it or spare it. But that wasn't what interested me about it. The fact that you can spare every monster or kill every monster isn't the cool thing to me. It's the desire that the game sort of evokes in me to take a certain action, not because it's the optimal way to do it, or because I want a certain outcome, because I actually don't have the desire to hurt these things. It's a weird reversal in the case that monsters in that game are much weaker than you as a human. Like, monsters are not the antagonist. You kind of are, and yet, you go into the game not knowing that, really. But you have the choice to not be. And what really interested me about it was the different ways in which it allowed you to figure out how to befriend monsters, and how, strangely enough, through this little bullet hell minigame, they actually managed to represent so many different ideas. It's like, this guy is throwing emotions at me as bullets. These are feel bullets, is what they are. And the game always does things that surprise me. Like, it's constantly surprising me. I'm not fully done with it yet. I think I'm pretty close to the end. It's never bored me, really, with the exception of every now and again there's a couple too many random encounters. Because, once you encounter the same creature and you figure out how to spare it, it becomes procedural.
Doing it over and over again is the worst.
That is not fun. Yeah. But thankfully, there's not too much of that. Like, I think the pacing is, unless you deliberately run around the same area and over again, you are going to not run too much into that. But I love the way that the game is consistently subverting my expectations, both mechanically and in terms of what I expect from the characters, and they end up being completely different to how I originally expected them to be. They're full of surprises. They've got a little bit of depth to them. The writing's really, really funny. I mean, it suits my sense of humor down to a fucking T.
It's so good.
Yeah, it manages to do the lol so random, I am the penguin of Tadoom thing without going overboard with it. Mm-hmm. That's a difficult balance to me.
It's a weird, and this is, it's an amazing experience. Like, it's hard to quantify, what I don't like about Undertale, because I think it's, one of those things, Dodger and Rocket League. We're I don't know, it's just something the experience, the story behind it, I love. I think the music is awesome. I think there's a lot to love in that game. Mechanically, it drives me crazy. Like, for some reason, I can't, like, it becomes a struggle, and the only thing keeping me going, it reminds me of Final Fantasy XI, where it's like, I just need to wait 12 hours to find a party in order to experience the story. With this game, it's like, all right, I need to go through all this awful BS of these random encounters. I know what this monster's problem is. Why do we keep figuring out what his fucking monster problem is? It's the worst. So, and just to get to the story, which is fundamentally really entertaining and like worth like the price of admission alone, but it drives me crazy. Like I can't get past how much I dislike the mechanics of the game.
There is
I'm in a similar spot where I've enjoyed listening to people talk about Undertale more than I do play that game myself.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is actually a game you could watch because I think a lot of the surprises come from the dialogue and things that are shown on screen. There are a couple of mechanical surprises that I really enjoyed. I love the way that the game has a flat-out disregard for its own rules. Like, things will just come out of the... for instance, with the little minigame battle system, the game says, all right, you dodge bullets in this box, and here's the box. Except when we completely disrespect the box. Like, yeah. It's like, this shit's actually coming from over here now. And one of the first real examples of that is when you're attacked literally by tears, and the tears are coming from the eyes of the monster, which is up here. Instead of it just being a picture of the monster, and then the battle is here, the UI feels very moldable. Like, and to me, like the UI in a game establishes a set of rules which can't really be broken. Except Undertale breaks them all the fucking time. And every time it does it, it's fucking great. Like, when I'm like, oh shit, he's about to do a special attack. It's a fucking dog. The dog runs along the bottom of the screen, barks at you, and then runs away. And then the guy's like, what the fuck? And I'm like, yay! You surprised me again! This was fun! You know?
The other thing from, like, an RPG aspect that I think is really powerful is the fact that it also acknowledges that you, the player, exist. That, like...
Yeah, that you are both the character and the person behind the screen.
You're existing in a world that can be reset, and they acknowledge that, and utilize that as such an important mechanic of the game. And I think that makes it feel all the more personal to you while you're playing it. You're just like, oh god.
Yes, there's definitely a lot of that to it. I mean, as I say, mechanically, it doesn't do anything super complex, but it takes very traditional ideas and constantly fucks with them, and constantly fucks with you as the player in the best possible way.
Yeah, it's an experience. It's an experience that I would say it's one of those games that you have to start down that path of playing it, and it might not be for you, but you need to, like, at least try it. Like, because it's like one of those things that a lot of people a long time from now will be like, remember Undertale? And yeah, it's a game that challenges a lot of what you think about video games.
Yeah, it does. I think it's going to have an impact on the way that some games are developed in the future. I think in a similar way to the way I think Stanley Parable had a bit of an impact on some of the ideas that are coming in, games in the future. The idea of kind of breaking the fourth wall and subverting expectations. I think it will have influence. It'll be a game for impact, a game for change. What was that category that in the Game Awards? It'll be that. It'll be one of those.
Games for impact.
Games for impact. Yeah. A couple of other RPGs that definitely are worth bringing up. I have to bring up Pillars of Eternity as just an incredible example of a really good CRPG. Like, that's in terms of like pure traditional computer role playing, that game is far and away the game that most personifies that in 2015. Definitely, really well put together. Great stories, great world, great original world. A lot of actual role playing that you can do. A lot of the traditional stuff that I think a lot of people enjoyed from Baldur's Gate and Icewind Dale, etc. Definitely worth bringing that one up. I don't have the time to finish that game. It's way too fucking long. But what I played of it, I really enjoyed.
Are we missing any?
Darkest Dungeon, I think. I mean, even though it's still early access,
that's not an RPG, though. Everybody's expendable in that game. Unless you establish, like, you as the person who's hiring
It's a tactics people. RPG. Like, it's not a traditional RPG, but it is a tactics RPG. It's a battle RPG. I think it's probably the best way to describe it.
So would you say Sunless Sea?
RPG?
It's more of a roguelike,
Sunless
right?
Sea, I don't know if that's an RPG.
It's hard to say that Sunless Sea is an RPG because I don't think there's really all that many opportunities to roleplay in Sunless Sea. It's a very narratively focused roguelite. That's the way that I would kind of describe it. It's a weird genre melder. It's cool. I loved it.
Everyone's saying Shadowrun Hong Kong and Xenoblade are also games that I haven't played either. I could not tell you.
Pillars of Eternity 2. Did we mention that yet?
I just said that.
Yeah,
you just did, sorry.
Yeah. Danny, did you get a chance to play Xenoblade? Like, I'm not much of a console gamer, so I haven't touched it yet.
Yeah, and it's a Wii U game, so even folks who own consoles, a lot of them don't own that. There's been I didn't because it came out right around Game of the Year stuff, and we had to pick our battles. But Peter Brown, our reviews editor, and Alexa Ray Correa here both played it, and it's one of Peter's favorite games of the year, and it seems like it's an incredible game that I wish was on more platforms so more people could get to play it. Apparently, about 30 hours in, when you get the mech, it basically like changes your perspective of scale and that world completely fundamentally. And like a lot of games are open world, this thing is like this huge sprawling planet which just goes on for ages and ages. Apparently you can play it if you didn't play the other game in the series. It's an easy one to get into. We gave it, I think it was either an 8 or 9 out of 10. And it seems to be, from people who have played it, it only came out a month ago and it's a long game, they seem to really enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's on my list of things to just play. I just have another chance.
It's time, man. There's so many big games that came out this year that it's like, how the fuck do we even finish any of these?
Yeah.
Well, that's good though, right? It's been a terrific year. So.
Yeah, chat is very good at listing games that didn't come out in 2015 and needs to fucking learn what Google is.
Yeah, for real. There have been so many times where they've said one, and I'm like, wait, did that come out this year? No, it did not.
The worst thing is people getting mad about it. It's like, why the fuck aren't you mentioning Wasteland 2? It's like, because it came out in 2014 and won an arbitrary award in 2014.
Was 2014.
2014.
Like, guys,
yeah. Come on, guys.
We're very much aware of what came out this year.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess we can wrap this category up with quick fire. Best RPG of the year, Jesse.
Witcher 3.
Danny.
Witcher 3.
Dodger. I'll be the lone dissenter and say, just in terms of pure RPG, Pillars of Eternity.
All right.
Cool. Let us move on to... This should be a very... Yes?
Can we... I know that you said that you wanted to skip the music categories.
I really do.
Can we just say what we had written down as our options?
Oh, okay.
Just to say them and keep them out
so
there.
we'll just make... Because I was going to do some music categories and then realized how stupid that kind of was on the show where we couldn't really play the music. So we'll a very, very quick roundup of it. So I'm going to name this Arbitrary Music Stuff. There we go. That is now the name of the category. Yes. All right. Favorite video game music this year? What did you like? Very quickly.
My favorite original music was Undertale, and my favorite licensed music use was Hotline Miami 2.
Cool. Danny, anything that stood out to you this year?
Yeah, Hotline Miami 2 as well. And also in that category, Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain had some really good licensed stuff in there.
That's very true. Very true. Jesse?
Favorite licensed Hotline Miami 2, I think, hands down. Favorite original? Oh God. I don't know. Ori and the Blind Forest, I think was beautiful music.
That's fair. Yeah. And I refuse to answer this question because it's part of the Arbitrary Awards, and then you can watch that next week. All right, next category. So this should be a nice and easy one for you. The game you spent the most time on this year.
Who's going to win this one?
Yeah.
Oh, this is a quick category.
Yeah, this is
this 3, is there easy done.
I was gonna say this is very.
3 hours of Gwent, easy.
Yeah, right. I would like you to tell people why you spent as much time as you did on it.
Oh, on Gwent? Because it's the same reason I spent all that time on the Final Fantasy card games and the fucking underwater ball game. And I don't know. It's like I'm playing the game I love, and then there's another game I love inside the game I love. How can I go wrong? It's terrific.
That's fair.
Yeah, and then it affects the world. By unlocking these cards, then I can go fight other assholes who have even better cards, so I can get those cards. In the world I'm playing in, as this guy who, maybe someday I'll, find a girl and bang her on the back of a unicorn with Gwent cards. I don't know. It's great.
Right.
I love Gwent. I don't know why. It's simple and easy, and it's a card game I've yet to lose at, and I feel really good about it.
Did you seriously play more Gwent than the actual main game?
Yes.
Oh, God.
People who are curious, the reason why they don't see me play a lot of Gwent on the actual videos is because off camera, I go to towns and find people to play Gwent with, so it's just not, I'm just trying to avoid it in the video. So I'm way further ahead in Gwent than I am in the actual game.
Oh, God. Yeah.
I've got problems.
Okay, fair enough. Like, how many hours do you estimate that you've sunk into Witcher this year?
I don't know. On both, I played both the GOG and the Steam version. So I don't know. Maybe like...
Yes. Nobody's going to know if you're telling the truth. Just make it up.
Oh, my God. Well, I was going to go look up my Steam and then add it to the... I don't know, maybe like 120 hours, roughly.
Cool. All right, Danny. What game you spent the most time on this year?
Witcher 3. I completed on the Xbox One, God help me, at 120 hours. But I've played it on... I built a new PC recently, and I've been playing it on that. I probably made 200 in total. Gwent is super fun, especially because there's like this Pokemon-style Gwent tournament in Novigrad at the end of that shit. It's just like... They fully committed to that Gwent in such a dumb way.
You go to a party... And, like, you're at the party and all the drunk nobles are like, you want to play Gwent? You're like, hell yeah, I do. There's, I swear to God, there's one moment where I almost had an aneurysm where you need to go around and you're hunting down, like, one of the crime bosses. And you're trying to, you have an option to either storm into the casino and beat everyone up or go to the casino and play in a Gwent, like, play guys in Gwent to get the information. The problem is I was like, if I don't do the beat up guy's quest, I lose out on this other guy's quest line, so I got to go do that. And I was so mad. I was like... I missed the tournament. Oh my God.
And shout out to Heart of Stone as well, because that expansion pack is so good. It's super
dope. Yeah.
Dodger, the game you spent the most time on this year?
So last night, I went onto my Steam and I looked up what game I had spent the most hours on.
This is about
Sakura
to be.
Clicker?
But you didn't play it for the vast majority of that. You literally just left it running while you left the country. That doesn't count.
An actual game that I've spent just like way too much time playing is Binding of Isaac Afterbirth, because they added like new game modes and stuff. That's been really, really fun, and I already loved the base Binding of Isaac game, so yeah.
That's totally fair. I've seen people sink a huge amount of time into that.
Yeah. Nearly 200 hours on Sakura Clicker, guys.
But you didn't play it, so...
I know! That doesn't matter. Oh my God, wait. That's right. It gains money while you have it off. I haven't opened it in
Don't turn it
forever.
on. It's going to freeze your system.
Don't do it. You'll crash. No.
I already hit play.
No.
It already happened.
Oh, you idiot. God.
I have to know how much
if you break the
dollars I
podcast, I'll never forgive you.
I have to know how much dollars I have.
Oh, God. For me... the most time, I think, actually was still Hearthstone this year. I definitely played less Hearthstone this year than I have last year, but I still played a lot of fucking Hearthstone this year. I did sink a lot of time into Overwatch, I think total about 70 hours into the beta, and I also sunk about 70 hours into Dirty Bomb, but definitely the game that I spent the most time on this year was still Hearthstone, and I'm spending a good amount more time on it now since they released the latest adventure, because I feel like it's very much... spiced the game up in a huge way that the last expansion didn't. It's very much changed a lot of how that game plays out and given a ton of new options to do stupid shit. And some of that stuff even works, which is great. So I'll take that. Plus, like, it's a game you can play like anywhere. You know how you mentioned the thing about the nobleman saying, "Hey, you want to play Gwent?" For us at an esports event, is it, "Hey, you want to play Hearthstone?" Like, it's that. So, yeah, lots and lots and lots of Hearthstone still. It's definitely the game I've spent the most time on this year, the most individual time on. All right, next category. This should be an interesting one. A game that surprised you the most this year, for whatever reason that may be. It could be one that surpassed your expectations. It can be one that was just, I had no idea what the fuck I was expecting when I went into this. Anything. So
here's a game that I saw at a couple of preview events. there's always, at least from our side on the sort of the mainstream press side, you can tell when somebody's not getting behind a game by when they release it and the amount of like time they're giving to it. But man, when Until Dawn came out, that game was like so much better than I think anyone was trying to sell it as.
That's absolutely what I have written down too. I think Until Dawn was the biggest surprise I had. Even E3, like seeing the. Like I didn't even see anything out. They had it like in a room, like a little tiny room, and like a few little things set up, but no one was playing it. It was everyone was just sort of looking at it, like, what is this? And I guess everyone just assumed it was gonna be another like jump scary kind of like.
That's exactly what I assumed out of it. Yeah. Like stupid jump scary horror game, and it's not.
I haven't cared that much about characters in a video game in a long time. Like the process of keeping those damn kids alive was the most stressful. Like, it was like you were a parent and you had to take care of these little children. You're like, don't, please, whatever you do, don't do this. And it was fantastic. The story I thought was great. I thought the characters were good. I thought, here's the crazy thing, the acting was actually really, really good. It wasn't like awful cheeseball. It was like, I think everything about it was phenomenal. And it came as a huge shock to me. Like, it's definitely in my top 10 of the year. Like, it blew me away. I was like, this game is great.
You know what's really interesting about Until Dawn is that they built an entire game around the idea of yelling at horror movie protagonists in a theater.
Yep.
It's like, don't go in there! They built a whole game around that. But because you can stop them from going in there. Like they finally gave you the power to save the people in a slasher movie where almost everybody dies.
It's an interesting category. It's an interesting category as well because it almost implies that these are games that you weren't expecting much from. So, like, Until Dawn is a game that I think I enjoyed so much because I was expecting it to be a crock of some like David Cage-ass weak horror bullshit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But it ended up like totally subverting my expectations.
It's the best David Cage game ever made.
Yeah, it's completely 100%.
Yeah.
He wasn't involved. It's like the Star Wars movies. The one where Lucas wasn't involved, best one. Like it's the best David Cage game. It's fantastic. I have nothing but good things to say about it. The entire experience was
I have plenty of bad things to say
amazing
about it, but it was still pretty fucking good.
and like I don't know. Completely blew me away. Expectations
I think I've already talked about Rocket League too much already probably, but that's another game where like I had no expectations of that because it came up on PSN as a free download and I played it one morning on a live stream and was like, I go back and watch that live stream now and it's so dumb because I'm like, oh, this game looks pretty good, I might play it for another hour, and then I'm like, it's basically taken over my like social life now in the evenings.
Yeah, totally.
Jumping off of that, a game that I have talked about way too much already, but I'm still going to mention. I played Undertale literally the second that it went up on Steam because my friend Octopimp, he's friends with Toby Fox. And so he was like, oh, my friend Toby made this game. Like, it might be up your alley. And so I wound up playing it like the second it came out and had no expectations, expected to play it for like maybe a half hour and be like, all right, that was an okay thing. And it wound up being like my game of the year. So that was obviously a huge surprise. The other game that I was told to play and thought it sounded really stupid and it wound up being really fun and having lots of jokes that were right up my alley was Chroma Squad. That game, I literally was told to play for like 3 live streams in a row. And I was like, this game, I don't know. It doesn't look like my sort of game. Like, it's not the sort of game that I'm good at. I don't think that I'm really going to enjoy it.
You're not much of a tactics RPG player, really, are you?
No, but that game wound up being super fun. Like, really, really fun. And I've done all right with, like, the tactical aspect of it on easy. So
it's not a hugely hard game unless you turn it right up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that game was... I expected to like it going in because it's like, oh, it's a strategy RPG mixed with Power Rangers.
Yeah.
And for some reason, your cardboard costume is like it's so weird because I can never quite figure out when it's fucking with me and when it's not. It's saying, well, we're playing the role of Power Rangers for this series that we're shooting. I was like, and our cardboard armor has special powers. It's like, I just stopped asking questions at a certain point. I'm just like, you know what, this is great. Let's go.
I didn't play that. Does it play a bit like Freedom Force? That's kind of what it sounds like.
It does not. I kind of wish that you've now reminded me of Freedom Force, and now I hate you because we'll never see another one. That game was fucking great. It's more like the two segments of it are you you spend your money on improving like your studio set. Like the whole conceit is that you were in a Power Rangers knockoff show, got sick of the director's bullshit and said, we'll make our own with blackjack and hookers, basically. And you have to start from scratch with a really low budget. And it's like, yeah, we make our swords out of cardboard and stuff like that. And you have certain little objectives that are kind of tied into making the scene exciting, but it's still like a battle RPG. Like you can still kind of die in it. So those are the two components of it. The shooting of the scenes and the episodes is the battles, and then everything else is the management, where you buy stuff and you hire marketers to boost certain aspects of your like stats and shit. It's neat. It's really
Sounds
neat.
Cool.
Undertale definitely has to come up on the list of things that surprised me because I didn't go in with expectations, and I'm kind of glad that I didn't wait too long. Because I think that if I started playing it like a week ago, my expectations would have been completely fucked up by the ridiculous fandom that game has.
Mm-hmm. That's why I've told a lot of my friends who are like, I still haven't played that game. Should I try it? I'm like, wait. Just wait a while until it dies down so that, like... I know a lot of people who were really surprised by City Skylines.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Totally, because we expected it to suck, especially after SimCity. Yeah, because
most of the time, city builders blow ass.
They do.
So.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. There's definitely a lot of that. What else?
I'm just looking through games, and I'm like, most of the games I thought were going to be good turned out to be good. Like, there were there were very few, and then the games I thought were going to be bad turned out to be, like, it was a pretty solid year for knowing what you were going to get, except for a few very big AAA exceptions.
Battlefront, that being one of them. I mean, Battlefront did not surprise me because having already played the alpha and the beta, I knew that I was going to hate it, and I did.
I think Arkham Knight was a negative surprise.
That was a negative surprise for not running properly on PC at all. Yeah, that was.
I was gonna say for forcing me to drive that fucking Batmobile.
Oh, that too. Actually, yeah.
90% of the damn game. That was the worst.
Knight may very well be the worst of the four main Batman games.
I get it was the last one, but God, like I don't know.
Certainly the most disappointing, you could say, because at least those early ones, they were like a pleasant surprise, right?
Yeah, they were. Like, I don't think many people expected Arkham Asylum to be as good as it was. But yeah, I think it was like the worst. Even ignoring the technical faults, there are loads of other design faults with that game. Like the emphasis on the car is a huge problem. It makes the game fucking suck because driving that car is boring.
And you know what's really sad is that story-wise, it was an okay story, but the mechanic of the way they told the story was really cool. Like I don't want to spoil anything, but the whole the story. You know what I'm saying there about the dead character. Like I think that was really effing cool. Not an incredibly great story or incredibly great gameplay mechanics, but it had like this cool thing that you were like, oh yeah, no, let's see where this ends up. And then at the end, you're like, oh, that's where that ended up. Okay. Like, I don't know. It wasn't very good. I feel bad. I wanted it to be more than it was.
A couple of little mentions for games that popped up on PC that I didn't expect to, that surprised me. Guilty Gear Xrd Sign, actually appearing on PC and not sucking. That was amazing. And also...
pretty fun, too.
Yeah, it's a good game. And Dragon Quest Heroes popping up on Steam as well, which is not so good a port, but I was just surprised that they actually brought it over. I mean, seeing a Dragon Quest game on PC is really weird, actually. It's like, that is exactly the opposite of what you'd expect to make it there, but I'm glad that it did. Any other surprises this year?
Surprisingly shit in that I thought it might be shit, but I didn't quite realize it would be that shit, is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5.
Oh, God.
Wow, that was some Olympic level shit game right there.
Yes.
They were charging $60 for that.
That's not worth any money. Any
God.
denomination of currency is not worth it.
Yeah, it made Ride and whatever the other motion board thing like almost
Ride
look
and
like good
Shred,
deals.
yeah.
Jeez, yeah, that game that was heartbreaking.
It was.
That was so heartbreaking. I did this like documentary where we interviewed Tony Hawk about like the history of the franchise, and it was probably like my favorite thing I produced all year. And then a week later, that game came out, and it was like, oh.
If you want to see the best example of why that game's garbage, go find the Conan O'Brien Clueless Gamer with him, Tony Hawk, and Lil Wayne, and go watch it. There's barely any gameplay footage. Like, and the gameplay footage they do show is really just like heavily edited, and you're like, yes. So the one time where they were like you can tell when a game is bad if you watch that show, because they really are like, we gave them a lot of money, so just please promote this, and we'll just not show gameplay footage. Mm-hmm. Like, it's a very honest sellout, and when the honest sellout is like, yeah, no, there's no actual footage of the game, you know it's a pretty shit game. Like, it's very true.
We should just let Conan do Game of the Year, because the best one he did all year was The Witcher 3 as well.
Yeah. Yep.
That was fucking funny. And I'm not the sort of person that's generally into Conan's humor, but I laughed my ass off at that video. Why isn't Contradiction being brought up by the two of you, Jesse and Dodger?
As what? As a total surprise?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know that... I guess it does count as a surprise. I would say that I don't know that we had expectations going in. We were just looking... I think we wanted it to be a silly... silly time to play a game, just a silly fun game, and it was a
silly fun game. I don't think that it necessarily surprised us. There were things that were like pleasant surprises within the game, but the game itself I think was just as goofy and entertaining as we wanted it to be.
Yeah,
okay.
we saw it and we're like, oh, this is silly, like this is gonna be great.
That's fair.
And that's why we picked it, and then it it delivered on all of our desires and needs. And P.S. We need a second one. We need a Contradiction 2.
Contradiction 2. Contradiction 2. Mm-hmm.
All right,
so they'll make one.
Okay, so before we go to the break, just around the room for biggest surprise. Danny.
Until Dawn.
Jesse.
Until Dawn.
Dodger.
Undertale.
And I'll probably also say Undertale. There you go. It's a tie. What will we do? Nothing, because it doesn't fucking matter.
Blue balls.
Fuck yourselves.
Yeah, there you go.
Blue
There's
balls.
Blue balls.
We promised you blue balls, and blue balls have been provided for you. They don't do those, and that's not their size, probably. I imagine. If they are, go the doctor. You could have testicular torsion. Watch out.
The audience has problems. Big blue ball problems. Massive.
We're going to be back after the break with yet more categories. The category, this is going to be fun, played anything on mobile that wasn't rubbish, talk about it, is the next category.
Yeah.
We'll be back after the break. Don't go anywhere. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Corruptional Podcast. All right, so we're moving on to what could be an interesting little category. I don't know if this has even got to fit in the bottom bar. I hope it will. The category is Played Anything on Mobile That Wasn't Rubbish, Talk About It Award.
Mm-hmm.
Who wants to go first?
Go on.
No. That game is terrible.
Strongly disagree.
All right, Danny, I'm going to give you the floor to defend Fallout Shelter.
All right, so E3, man, that's a lot of work. E3 is a lot of... I host a stage show, and we do lots of interviews in the evenings. I tend not to do any of the partying. It's like a work thing for like 5 days straight. And sometimes I just need a comfort blanket, man. And they launched this thing at E3, and it's not even that good. But for like 4 days, this was my comfort blanket, where I was just like, it's okay. Don't worry about that interview you're doing that's changed like 4 times. We'll just make sure that Johnny here gets his fucking whatever strength up, and we'll get more efficiency here. Like, there's no end game. It's not even that fun, but it kept me happy for like 5 days. So to that, I love it for that.
I'm glad that like you're willing to just come out and admit that, because I've seen people sincerely defend that game as a good game. It's just like, it isn't. It is not, and you would not in any way be playing this game if it didn't have the word Fallout on it, and you fucking know
totally.
it.
I'm sure this game exists in like 20 other forms which don't have Fallout
20.
on it.
Oh, yeah. That's optimistic, I gotta say. Thousands of those kind of basically clicker games, I guess.
Yeah.
It's kind of what you describe it, or as a well, I mean, the genre for me is the waiting game is what they are. Like, build a thing, then you earn currency, build another thing, earn currency, build another thing. It's a time sink, is what it is. And I'll admit to, like, I think we were all into it quite early on in the first week. We were really into it, and then the luster wore off, and we realized it was a fucking awful video game.
Yeah.
It was just that whole thing, like they announced Fallout, and you want to get wrapped up in it.
Yeah,
and
you do.
It's just, that's, it scratched that itch. Not a good game, though. I literally have not recommended this to anyone ever. So,
no.
Got to keep it all to yourself.
Exactly. My shame.
Someone's asking if I'll defend my pay-to-win Star Wars game. No, I actually have a category specifically for that later on, which, because we probably won't get there, I'll probably skip to it, or we'll just save for it next time. Anyway, no, I will not defend Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. That is not a good mobile game.
Why not?
Because it's not a good mobile game, and I know it, and I'm playing it anyway. I know it sucks.
What's the name of that dumb... I didn't play it because I know it'll ruin my life. What's the name of that dumb game where you just have a house, and you're, like, trying to put things in the house to make cats come to it?
Make cats come to you?
What's... Oh, fuck, I have it here. Neku Atsume? Is that it?
Yeah, that sounds right. There's a dog version
Jen plays
now.
a lot of that.
Excellent.
Oh, it's a dog version? I might...
There
No,
is.
actually, I probably won't play that.
You should get it.
Stuff that was actually, like, good, that wasn't rubbish?
Armello, the mobile version of Armello, I think is really, really fun.
Does that count if that was the first place that you because that wasn't the first place you played it, was it? It's just port, right? Oh, it was.
It was originally a mobile game, wasn't it, Jesse?
Armello?
I remember playing it originally as a
iOS.
PC game, so I don't...
Really?
I mean, it might have been first. I don't know. Yeah, I know that it was PC, then
Wait.
PS4, so I don't know if it was on mobile before that. I couldn't tell you.
Is it even out on mobile
What?
yet?
I've played it on mobile before.
It's weird. I can't find the release date for it on mobile. Anyway, if I actually knew this was out on mobile, I would have played it. I had no idea.
Am I crazy?
You might be. I don't know. Yeah.
I think you might be insane.
You might be a crazy person.
Because I'm like, if that game was on like mobile, I'd probably play the shit out of it. I didn't know it's not, right?
Maybe I played it like at their booth or something. Maybe they're developing.
Yeah, because they were
crazy.
saying they kind of wanted to do a release. Like they were quoted last year saying it's coming to iOS.
Right.
I just don't think it's there yet, as far as I know.
Oh yeah, it's coming to Android and iOS in 2016.
Yeah, you probably played
crazy.
it. You must have played it at their booth, like because they probably had the iOS version, like a test version of it there or something.
Yeah, never mind then. I know that the first time I ever played it was on a tablet.
Right.
So
that's probably why you think that then.
That's probably why I'm like, Armello, that was a real good mobile game.
Yeah,
Not a mobile game. Ignore me.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to that coming out on mobile now because I think that'll be a good platform for it. That would work. Lara Croft Go. I'll actually come up with a game that is actually good. Mm-hmm. Both of the Go games are really interesting ways to take a concept, take a franchise, remain thematic, and yet completely change the fucking genre in a way that works on mobile. Like it's the perfect way to make a mobile version that stands alone and is still good, as opposed to what a lot of companies try and do, which is dumb that stuff down in a big way. It's like, we're going to make this AAA game work on mobile, and we're going to sacrifice everything that made it good in the process. But Lara Croft Go is definitely worth having a look at, as is Hitman Go, which was its predecessor.
Yeah, super fun game.
They're really enjoyable, sort of tactical kind of puzzle game-ish things.
Jesse, have you still been playing Pokemon Shuffle?
That game is garbage. It is not a good game. That game is... They updated it now to be like, yeah, no, it shows you the levels of things and like what Pokemon to get, and like it's basically like either you sink a bajillion hours into it or you pay them money, the mobile game, which is most mobile games, but like...
That's most mobile games, yeah.
I hate it. And I still have it, and I still play it every once in a while, and I hate it. Did Yearwalk come out this year?
I think it did it not?
Or was that last year?
I think your Yearwalk was last year.
I liked that game. I thought that was good.
Yeah, Yearwalk is actually 2013 on iOS.
Oh, shit.
2 years
All right,
ago.
never mind.
Yeah.
It came out on Wii U this year.
Ah,
all right.
Okay, that's why, I knew there was some
makes
release
sense.
of it.
Yeah. Yeah, have you heard about that new game called Minecraft? It also came out on Wii U this year.
Wow, yep.
All those hot bangers coming to your Nintendo machine.
That's true, although I still
Pick
need
it
to get
up,
around to
kids.
playing Fast Racing Neo, because I'm told it's pretty fucking good. Evidently nobody else thinks that, but hey. Alto's Adventure.
Yes. That's a good game, but like, isn't that basically just Ski Safari?
Pretty much.
It's just a really like beautiful, sort of moody one.
Yes. It's not an original concept at all. It is a beautiful... I mean, it's effectively an automatic runner. Like, to me, it was very kind of Tiny Wings-esque, which I fucking love Tiny Wings, by the way. It reminded me a little bit of that. It's actually about snowboarding and saving llamas in the process. And
Great.
yet, for some reason, it looks fucking gorgeous. Like, the art style is so good. And it's a $2 game. There's no in-app purchases as far as I know. It's really fun to just play sessions of, like nice quick sessions of. It's skill-based, it's satisfying. The stunt system is simple, but it's fun. The levels are procedurally generated. Alto's Adventure is really cool. I'll definitely look at that.
What effing games came out this year for iOS that
Yeah.
were good?
I think it's been a really bad year for iOS, actually. Like, last year I had no problem coming up with a category where I had, like, 5 really good nominees for mobile games, and then a couple more that didn't even make it in
I've
the
barely
list.
played anything on my phone this year, which is weird.
That's really all you played
That's-
last year.
That's really rare. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't played much on iPad this year either, honestly.
I mean, if you want to keep going, like the Vita had a shocking year, and even the 3DS like had some good games, but nothing like previous years.
Yeah, portable gaming in all forms, either mobile or, handheld, has not been great.
I mean, I don't know that it's a great game. Like, it was fun. Prune came out this year, which I think was a cool concept game, but it wasn't
Prune?
Yeah, but it wasn't like a fun game. You pruned a damn tree. Like, it wasn't like
It was cool. It was a little bit zen, I'm
Yeah,
cool with little experiences like that on mobile devices in particular, because there might be those few minutes where I just want to calm down and feel a bit more at ease with the world, and then you play a game like Prune to do that.
It's a very cool concept game. I don't know that it's like. I don't know what came out this year that was good. A lot of the games are games like I'm looking online and people are like, "What are some of your favorite games that came out for iOS?" And most of them are like Transistor.
They're ports, yeah.
Oh yeah, they're all ports.
Yeah.
Yeah, iOS is actually really, to me, having huge problems. So is Android, in terms of the environment is completely hostile to good game development.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how much Alto's Adventure has sold, but I would not be in any way surprised if it was fuck all, despite the fact that game's obviously great.
I'd love to know how much BioShock sold, because that came out on iOS during the summer.
Did it really?
Pretty sure
did.
it was.
Yeah.
It was this summer. Yeah. What the fuck? What?
That was... I mean, I'll give him credit for being ambitious, but it's literally the worst platform that could ever be on. As I said, I've ranted about touch controls being the anathema of core games for a very, very long time. And I just genuinely think that unless you're making some sort of free-to-play, we're going to milk you over time kind of game, it's really hard to find success. And the games that do find success almost seem random in the fact that they just gain some sort of viral popularity. Like, who is the tastemaker on mobile? Like, there aren't really that many YouTube channels that really cover it, and nobody streams it on Twitch. People are like, oh, well, Mob Crush. Well, actually, I've watched Touch Arcade play on Mob Crush, and they had like 300 concurrents, and they're like the biggest mobile gaming site that exists, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the problem is that there is no like community for mobile games. It's just people who own phones disparately, disconnected by language, age, gender. It's wonderful in one way because it's super crazy wide, but like there's no, media outlet or streamer who's going to appeal to that type. Like I bet like 99% of people who play those games never like look at YouTube gaming on or like go on Twitch streams at all. Like it's fucking totally disparate,
Yeah, it is very interesting to see the difference in that, and the only people that I barely even Touch Arcade, which I like, I don't necessarily trust, because they've just they've said so many things that I just don't agree with, like kind of from a mobile perspective. Like they hyped the fuck out of a game called Warhammer 40,000 Freeblade. I was like, this is an amazing mobile experience, and I loaded it up, and it's like, this runs about 15 frames a second, and it's about fucking dragging your finger across to shoot shit. And the reason that they hyped it up because it was like, look at how impressive this looks. It's like, yeah, until you see it in motion, you know. Then it looks
and like mobile
arse.
games are so much about like, keeping people on with additional content. You look at like Game of War and Clash of Clans, and they're games that came out like fucking 3-4 years ago, probably at this stage.
Yeah, and those are they're the two highest grossing games on the iOS platform. And the thing is, it's been that way for the past year.
Yeah,
like it's been the same games making the same money.
Yeah, if you look at all these different, I'm just trying to look and see. It's like Hearthstone is one of the big ones,
obviously, but that came out like 2 years ago.
Yeah, like a lot of the Telltale games are up there, but those, apparently Shadowrun Dragonfall was a big one.
Yeah, again, those are all ports of PC games that I'd rather play on PC.
Faster Than Light, still pretty big, but again, it's a port. Like there's
all ports.
The game I played more than anything else on iPad this year is probably XCOM Enemy Within. But again, that was last year, and also it's
a port. I do have one more that did come out this year, which is Card King's Dragon Wars. And you know that I like card games a lot. The Card King's Dragon Wars had some really interesting ideas behind it. Business model's kind of shitty with it, I have to admit. But it did go out of its way to not just try and be a Hearthstone clone, and actually have some really interesting ideas about how the battle mechanics worked, and also had a really nice presentation style, in which like the people you were playing against were kind of actual physical characters, and like they got really mad when you crit them and shit, you know, and it was just like that's a nice little bit of flavor there. That's not a bad mobile card game. I'd actually play that if it was on PC.
I'm so curious to see. What was it at E3 where like every company was like, by the way, we're also making a card game. We'll see you in 2016.
Yeah.
I'm so curious to see how all of those are going, or if they wind up getting dropped.
Yeah, some did come out. Like we got World of Tanks Generals just came out. Don't dig it, really. Presentation style sucks. It's not, the mechanics don't really gel with me.
I'm wondering how the Elder Scrolls one is going to be.
I don't know. I know there's a lot of people just trying to clone Hearthstone at the moment. It's like, you know
That's the thing, is I'm like, what are you going to do to make it so that people aren't just like, Hearthstone does this better, I might as well play Hearthstone. Like, that's...
Yeah, especially when you've invested so much money or time into Hearthstone. It's like, why would you switch out of it?
And we live in a post-Gwent world, you know? It's totally changed.
Yeah.
True
Too
that.
bad Gwent is garbage. Garbage. I hate that game. I'm so bad at it.
Yeah.
I like how all of your things so far today have been like, it's the worst. I'm bad at it.
Yeah. Somebody in chat was like, fuck you, Dodger. You can't just say that you don't like a game because you're bad at it. I'm like,
yeah, you
of course
can.
I can.
Absolutely you can. As long as you're honest about that's why it is. You know? It's like, I hate this game because I suck at it. Like, okay, cool.
I'm terrible at that game, so it blows.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
And
Are you gonna go
I don't know what
rob a bank with other thrill-seeking adventurers at some point today? Is that why you're dressed like that?
That's the plan, yeah.
I think it looks like she was going to go Oscar Mike, I believe.
Dodger currently promoting Point Break, coming to theaters near you, a movie you'll never see.
Why are they remaking Point Break?
Yeah.
Why would they remake that garbage?
Right. Well, conclusion is apparently mobile sucks because we could barely come up with anything.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Coolest written character.
I have nothing written for this.
You play
This was
games
hard.
that are nothing but characters with writing. You play mostly nothing but visual novels, and you can't come up with a single coolest written character nomination.
I
Really?
can't think of any characters who were cool.
So apparently all visual novels are fucking awful and you shouldn't play them. All right.
But like when you think cool, you're thinking like you have an expectation of this character. Like he may not look awesome, but he is a effing badass. Like that dude.
Well, that's how you interpret the category. It could mean anything.
That's how I
It's the
interpreted
word-
it too.
It's the
I
word
was
coolest.
like, badass characters or like cool characters? I don't think I have. I can't
you
think
didn't,
of
you
any.
didn't say best. You didn't say best written character. You said coolest written character, which is the same thing as that like Impact Award shit. No one knows.
All right,
what that
I'm renaming this category dynamically. Character that had writing that you somehow liked in a way, cause is now the name of the category for this award.
That's easy. I mean, God, I hate to be that guy who's always going back to the same well, but I feel like the Bloody Baron questline.
Yes! Picked it
Is
out of
like-
my brain. Love it.
So
Like-
cool.
Yeah, the Bloody Baron storyline is phenomenal. And if I had to do a close second, I'd be the Gaunter O'Dim storyline from Hearts of Stone, which I think that was an also like well-written, contained storyline. So I feel like it was the Bloody Baron is a character who is a genuine like asshole, just a bad dude, but because he is written so much like a real human, you can't help but feel like, God, I feel bad for this guy. Like, he's a dick and he's a horrible person, but like there's humanity in him and everything in his life is just shit. But he caused it. He made that happen. And you're just like, oh, I feel bad for you, dude. But you brought this on yourself. It's so well written, and it's like it's a character that is just he stands out in a game that has a lot of standout characters. So
cool,
hands down, one of my favorites.
It's hard for a game to like make you sympathize with what is essentially like a woman beating drunk asshole, but somehow that game makes they skirt that line of like morality Witcher does in a way that like just makes you feel awful. And like that quest, like, dude, that botchling, like the botchling reveal alone was just like, and then handing it to the fucking
the whole
dude, and he's like,
quest, I was like,
yeah, there's something. It's like I don't want to say traumatic, but there's something about that experience where just like you walk away like, holy shit, I did like what the fuck just happened? Like it's crazy, and yeah, it's all because of like. And there's so many ways you can go about that story. The fact that there's multiple endings to that story based on what you've done is like, and none of them are good. Like there is no like, well, he finally learns his lesson, happy ending. Like it's just like the best you can hope for is that he realized how bad he fucked up, and he's like, I guess I'll try and like fix this some way. But there's no good fix. Like everything's screwed, and it's like, what a great story. Yeah. Oh, it's.
What a great character. We're not talking about the story. Character.
Well, character. I mean, the character is his storyline. Is like, it's his like shitty life, and you're just caught up in it.
Right.
And I think that like he's not a good character.
No.
And I think I think we talked about this last year for Grand Theft Auto 5, which was like the characters in that game are great. Because they were they were bad people.
Shitty people.
And that's what made it so compelling. When you played as them, you're like, these guys are awful. And I think that translates well with this character. The Bloody Baron's just not a good guy. And you always wonder in the back of your mind, like, is he that way because circumstances made him that way? Or is he that way because that's really who he is? And you're always questioning yourself about this character because it gives you so many chances to be like, man, like, something about this guy. Like you want to redeem this character. Like I think that's what makes it so great is you want some like, well, it's either or. You want to either redeem him or you hate him so much because of what he's done that you're like, F this dude, this guy's the worst. But he makes you feel something.
Yeah, that's the big deal. It's like having some emotional investment in the character in someone. And like I feel like games are often, I'd say like years behind what television, which like is in somewhat of a golden age, is able to do right now. Like I compare that character to Kilgrave in Jessica Jones, a character who is a fucking monster. And yet every now and again, you kind of start to see things from his point of view, and it's like, oh shit, am I also terrible? Oh fuck, what happened here? That's a good example of great writing. Yeah, same Walter White, and things like that.
Yeah, it goes back to that. Like, there's an episode dead in the middle of Jessica Jones where you're like, maybe, just maybe, right? And then it's like, nah,
nope, never mind.
but you feel something. You're like, this guy is the worst, and then you feel like a little spark of hope. And I think it's And you're right.
Yeah, games definitely need to be able to do that, and they're more often than not, unfortunately, are not. But we are seeing certainly examples of that. It's also the reason why writers have got to not be afraid of portraying a character in a really awful way, like regardless, by the way, of gender or skin color, because I think it is super important to be able to provide that level of character depth across the board. Because otherwise you fall into the trap of stereotypes. You fall into the good old Hollywood fucking trope about British men can only be villains, and shit like that. It's like, oh, God.
But it's true, though.
Unless they put on an American accent, then they can be a superhero.
Then they can be okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Or a doctor.
Definitely. Okay, so other character writing. Dodger, did you come up with something?
It's hard. I'm trying to figure out how to talk about them without spoiling things.
Right.
So I'm just gonna, in a very basic way, say Sans from Undertale is like an incredible bait and switch character.
Yeah.
And also Undyne from the same game. A game that we haven't talked about at all, who has a really interesting character, is Cradle.
Right.
Cradle has this this female robot who, when she wakes up, she doesn't remember who she is or like what's going on at all. There's like a lot of blank spots, and throughout the game you're helping her fill in the blanks. And as you hear her story and what she is and how she fits in with the lore of the world in general, it becomes more and more and more intriguing. Cradle unfortunately had kind of like a lackluster ending, like an ending that was not very fulfilling at all. But the journey of the game and learning about the lore of the world that you're in, specifically in regards to her and her story, was really, really cool. So,
I'm going to
can't talk.
Sorry, Danny, go ahead.
To briefly, can't really talk about it again too much because of spoilery stuff. And maybe it's because it's a game in which there aren't that many standout great characters. But Nick Valentine in Fallout 4, I think, he's a bit of a trite kind of. He's a bit of a cliche character, but I think he's super well written, and he's the only like companion that I really felt compelled to have around because he had like interesting insight on what was happening in the world around him.
Definitely, I'd like to throw my hat in the ring for Alarak from Legacy of the Void.
Yeah.
Basically, the only redeeming character in the entire goddamn campaign to me. The only one that was really well written. Everybody else was terrible. He was great, not only in terms of, it helped that it was delivered by a great actor, but the way he was written was genuinely interesting, and I cared about what he had to say. He was a fucking asshole. And that was cool. So
assholes are fun. They're fun characters.
They are, yeah, definitely. I mean, I'd throw a lot of the Undertale people into the ring. That's the thing about Undertale, is that like almost every character had writing that I liked in some way, like all of it, pretty much.
Yeah.
There's none that really necessarily stand out to me so far. Maybe that will not be the case when I finally finish it. There will probably be one that stands above all the others, but I still like pretty much all the characters writing in that. The
thing that's interesting about Undertale is there are characters that are portrayed to you in one way, but if you go through the game...
they'll be portrayed in an entirely different way.
They'll be completely different.
It's fucking cool.
Depending on if you murder everyone or if you're doing a pacifist run. Like...
Yes.
There are characters who you think are one way and they are not at all. And that's really cool to me.
That's neat. That's really neat. Let's see. Anything... any other characters that had writing that you really liked in some way that kind of spring to mind? I mean, we had a year of big AAA games with big AAA voice actors and big AAA characters. Were there all that many others?
Destiny!
Oh, yeah, okay, sure. Everyone believes you.
Can I say what character I fucking hate?
Sure.
It's Lara Croft in the new Tomb Raider. Like, I didn't like her in the last... Yeah, like, I like that first game, and the new one's alright, but, Jesus, I just don't get her. It's like, okay, if you're fucking freaking out so much about, like... I don't know. She just seems to always be wondering why she feels like she's going insane while she's murdering a bunch of people. It seems totally counterintuitive.
Not only are you not the only person that said that to me, I have heard a surprising amount of that from my female friends that have played that game. They, strangely enough, here's the big stereotype. If you read the internet and believe everything the internet says, then women want the emotionally invested stories and they want the character development. They don't want the shooty bang bang. Not when it comes to Tomb Raider, they fucking don't. They want a powerful badass who goes around raiding tombs and shooting people in the head with dual pistols and fighting dinosaurs. Yep. That's what they actually fucking want, because that is the icon, the character, the inspiration, the person they looked up to as they were growing up as a really cool representation of women in games. What they don't want is whiny Croft.
It falls into the same... Sorry, go ahead, actually, Dodgy.
No, go for it.
It falls into the same trapping as like games like Uncharted, where like there are so many games in which there are predominantly male protagonists who are shooting a shitload of people, but the minute you try and characterize them, then it's the same problem GTA 4 had as well with Nico, which is like the minute you try and characterize that person, it becomes so hard to empathize with them because they're just murdering all these fucking people.
Yeah.
So
hugely the narrative dissonance problem.
Yeah,
the biggest one. It was the same problem in the first game as well. But what it sounds like to me is there's a real issue that in the first game she was scared for the first few hours, and that made sense. But then that went away. Like, she wasn't scared anymore, and she was self-assured, but now apparently she's not self-assured anymore?
Yeah, she wants to kill people, and it's not mystical ass fucking, I don't know, like old or, Asian people who've just woken up, might be zombies. Now she just wants to go kill shitloads of Russian dudes. Like, it's like, I don't know. It's something about it just seems that it's, as a character who is trying to be, like, they did a lot of work to try and portray her as a sympathetic character, and I'm just thinking, why you keep going and look for people to murder them?
I think it's hard because they're trying to take a character where they know the end game, right? They know who Lara Croft is as an adult.
What she will become.
Yeah, so they're like, how do we bridge the gap of, like, younger Lara Croft who is becoming a Tomb Raider and have her, like, start to become this sort of callous killing machine, right? But while still having flecks of, like, that personality where she's like, oh, I'm still so new to this, but murdering everyone. Yeah. There's very fun games, but, like, I totally get what you're saying.
Can I draw a comparison with what they did with James Bond there? Because, like, when they released Casino Royale and then did the Daniel Craig stuff, which was supposed to be kind of like the Bond origin story, the way that they made that work is they didn't pretend that he wasn't a fucking psychopath. Like, James Bond's a dick. Like, when a lot of people got, like, fucking pissed off when Daniel Bryan said, yeah, James Bond's kind of a misogynist. Like, yeah, he fucking is, actually. Like, the thing, James Bond is, in some ways, a character to look up to, but he's also a piece of shit.
He's doing the right thing for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
With the Daniel Craig stuff. He's
which is actually why I like those movies.
But, like, the original Tomb Raider games, maybe this is getting into a different discussion, but, like, the original Tomb Raider games, I remember feeling bad for shooting wolves. Like, we talk about Tomb Raider 2 as, like, Tomb Raider 2 was like, oh my god, they made Tomb Raider crazy, bigger set pieces, more explosive, and also more people to kill. Whereas the first game was kind of like, you weren't really killing people. You're killing, like, Egyptian people and shit, but, like, it wasn't...
You got dinosaurs every once in a while, or
T-Rex,
fucking bear.
Yeah, so that's my problem. I'm more about killing dinosaurs. I don't know.
Someone's taking that quote out of context. You are losing your job, mate. Better set up your Patreon now, because you're fucked.
Although, that game, I just want to clarify, that game is actually really good as well. Just a weird character.
Like, the inherent problem with Tomb Raider is that they gave you that sort of origin of, like, first she was scared, and then she overcame, or now she's like a badass in the first game. So a second game is like, all right, what is the emotional story arc of this character now that she is a badass? Well, we have to come up with another way for her to be, like, emotionally vulnerable for a little bit, and so it makes her feel like less of a character than, like, it ruins the character by trying to, like,
you retcon the retcon, really.
Yeah. It's like we got that the last game. Give us something totally different and totally like give us the badass that the original thing. Like, when you first started playing her, was like way back in the day. You're like, oh, it's sexy Indiana Jones. Like, look, as a young
Anna
kid,
Jones?
That's sexy Indiana
Yes,
Jones.
no, sexy Anna Jones.
Sexy Anna
There you
Jones.
go. Her name is Anna Jones. She's sexy.
That's like what it was like in the early '90s, and that's like. And then she became like her own badass, and that's what people want. They want this Lara Croft to just murder and, like, find treasure and make money and be, like, just great and not give shits. Like, to shoot an idiot who has a sword. Like, that's what we want. That's what we want out of her.
Yeah, maybe she's the wrong character to have that emotional range.
Well, I feel like personality-wise, Bayonetta has taken her place for me.
Like,
Bayonetta is the super sexy, badass, confident woman character, and she's perfect at that. Mm-hmm. So I'm, like, kind of fine with the fact that Lara Croft is getting, like, that people are trying to do something different with her. I just don't think that it's working very well yet. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the game is still super fun, and I like that she's portrayed as being, very intelligent. It's just that there's that weird disconnect of, like you didn't have to murder all those people, right?
And Uncharted's going to have the same problem next year, right?
Yeah, I mean, Uncharted's had the same problem for, like, since Uncharted started, right?
Yeah.
So, the wisecracking, murderous psychopath that you are
like
supposed
writing
to like.
for those games is kind of a thankless endeavor.
Oh, God,
right?
it must be. It really
must be.
must
A nightmare.
be. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to, because I want to crack out a few more characters before you have to go. Coolest looking character.
Undyne.
Can we just say, like, everyone in Bloodborne? Can we?
Yes.
Everyone in
Like, I
Bloodborne.
The
swear to
entire
God, we
cast
have
of
the
Bloodborne.
same List.
Can we
Yeah,
just
I think
the
same
entire
list
cast
here,
of
man.
Bloodborne?
Yeah. Totally.
Like,
From
Hunter,
Software,
everyone.
every time
Right.
they make a monster, I'm like, yes,
Oh god.
yes.
They're
And
amazing.
then
Like,
just the art direction in Bloodborne was so good overall, like this gothic
even NPCs,
Victorian
like
setting.
even just normal people, look really effing cool. Like everything in
Yeah.
that game visually is like this. It's like a feast for the eyes. It's incredible.
Yeah.
So every character in Bloodborne. Okay, that's
Yeah, can we do that?
well,
Agreed.
Dodger, why the fuck aren't you starting to throw your waifus from Overwatch into the ring here?
Because you said Overwatch doesn't count.
No. This is a category for coolest looking character. Those characters exist. You can look at them right now.
May. May Day. May all day.
Hey,
No, Junkrat, best girl.
no,
Love
no,
Junkrat.
no.
I'm on the Winston train. I'm sorry.
Wait, is Junkrat a girl?
No.
All right.
You fell into my animu trap, Danny.
Perfectly
For a brief
set and
moment,
executed.
You questioned everything you knew about reality. You were like, wait,
There was a good 5-second gap between her saying that and me asking. Of fuck. Everything I know.
Wait a minute.
Now I want Lady Junkrat. Junk Damsel.
Yeah. Junk damsel. Oh my
Junkrat
god.
is
That sounds problematic.
Mays, May to go. May Day. All day. 5
God.
Mays.
Yeah.
5 Mays, no.
Iceland.
Jesse, coolest looking characters. Come on. Cool with you.
I mean, I was want to say Bloodborne. All the Bloodborne characters. If you want to say
Okay.
Overwatch, that's fine. But I mean, I don't know. There's so many really cool there's so many that. Oh my god, I don't even know right now.
He's melting.
Look,
I am.
in terms of just character design, regardless of the graphic quality of the game, Undyne was a goddamn fish woman in a suit of armor. Fuck, so cool. She's awesome.
Yeah,
So I'll throw her in there.
certainly. Can I put an anti-nomination in?
Yes.
Go for it.
Sure.
Just to fuck with chat, because I know they will get mad about this.
Are you going to say what I think
You
you're going to
know
say?
what I'm going to say, don't you? You
Yeah.
know it. Quiet
Yeah.
is the opposite.
Yeah.
The opposite of this. I don't mind sexy
TB.
characters. I love sexy
TB,
characters.
She was wearing no clothes for story
I
reasons.
breathe through my skin. Is no, you don't.
For story
No.
reasons, though.
I'm
Dude,
not.
we knew about that in the office here 6 months. Right as Kojima posted that tweet where he was like, "You will repent of your
Regret
sins or
your
whatever."
thoughts and
Yeah.
deeds. Yes.
We knew about the photo sent to this thing, and I was like, I want to tell the internet because the reason is so fucking stupid.
It doesn't make sense in the law because the
Yeah.
end exists, and also
Yeah.
you can put her in clothes anyway with an outfit, so that she should fall over and die because she's wearing a coat, but she doesn't.
And so much about that character would be kind of cool. Like the whole singing in the ear shit is like a nice touch, and you kind of there's a bond there. But just as a design, it's just so
yeah, it's the design that I
manipulative.
fucking
It's just
hate.
not. Yeah, it's fucking.
It
dumb.
doesn't. It's not to me even sexy in a cool and cohesive way. It just. It's like, how can we slap on these elements to make a character who thrusts her goodies in the camera's direction as often as possible?
My goodies. My goodies.
Look,
My goodies.
As a red-blooded American male,
I knew you were going to say literally that phrase.
As a red-blooded American male, I feel like if she was in just a skin-tight outfit,
Basically, she
leather
was
out,
Nova.
yo, that would have been 10, 12 billion times better. I don't know. Something about going into battle in a bikini makes so little sense that it's actually a turnoff. You're like,
Yeah.
that. I don't want you fighting beside me because I feel like this is gonna be a problem, not just for you, but for me as well. I don't want you having to adjust shit when guys are shooting at me. I need a sniper.
It's like,
I
oh,
don't think-
fell out again. Shit, better.
It just doesn't work, lady. Zip it up. I got plenty of jumpsuits in there. Throw a few on. I don't care. We'll
Few.
Well,
yeah.
Just layer them.
Your design
you can buy
has
chlorophyll
no.
and shit at the store. Let's do this thing. We got stuff to do. I don't got time for this.
Your
Do you know
design
how
has no
fucking
logical
cold-
cohesion.
Do you know how cold Afghan deserts get at night?
Pretty fun cold, I imagine. Yeah, pretty chilly. It's okay because she's superpowered because she breathes through her skin. She still has a full head of hair though, so obviously doesn't breathe through that bit of the skin.
Only
So,
like
only
the
only
upper
specific bits
chest
of the
and-
skin.
and lower like abdomen is where it really she needs to breathe through.
Yeah, I mean
Like-
you can't breathe through your breasts. Obviously, internet.
But like
Come on.
right here-ish and kind of like down. Yeah. Oh, stomach. It's prime breathing territory.
Yeah, definitely.
Everyone
There's
knows
more
that.
pores there. There's more pores than there are in the other areas of your body. She looks stupid. Like, she does. And I'm going to be completely unapologetic at telling you, you can make whatever fucking character you like, and I reserve the right to call it stupid.
That said, some of the other characters in that game are really cool looking. Like,
Yo, that
like,
kid is cool.
yeah.
Fucking Christian Bale Empire of the Sun is in that video game. Fucking best character in it. He doesn't say a word either. Just fucking say, he barely talks as well. Great.
Can I throw two hats in the ring based on the Street Fighter V beta?
Yes.
Is that fair?
Go on.
'cause
If
everyone's
you
kinda
say
gotta play
Laura,
that.
I agree.
I'm
Laura,
throwing
me.
Fang into the arena.
Fang wins. Absolutely. Dude,
Fang.
that dude is dope.
Fang is one of the most unusual looking fighting game characters I've seen, and that's really cool. And I also want to throw in Rashid.
Yeah.
Love him.
Rashid is cool
looks great.
too.
He's actually like probably going to be my main in Street Fighter V. Love the
Fang
design
is
of Rashid
So cool.
and of Fang. Yeah, so those are two great looking characters.
Yo, Big Boss is pretty cool. I like
Big
Big
Boss is
Boss
pretty
in that game. Especially when you like load him up with like super padded fucking armor and he's just he's like a head with an eye patch in like this big massive like hurt
Right.
locker bullshit. Yeah.
God, I'm glad he doesn't have to breathe through his skin. That would be a real problem.
Although he should. Thankfully, the internet has made that happen, where it's him dancing sexily or
Yeah.
writhing in water instead of her.
I love that video. That
Thank you,
fucking
Internet.
made me
Thank
laugh
you, Internet.
so much.
It's great.
Okay, so conclusion, coolest looking character. If you had to pick one, Dodger.
Bloodborne?
It's
Cast
not
of
a
Bloodborne.
Bloodborne
Easy
isn't a
win.
character.
The
That's an
cast.
entire
All
video
of
game.
Bloodborne.
All of Bloodborne wins. Easy win.
Oh Jesus, you guys are awful. Danny, save me, please.
But Bloodborne.
He's on board.
Oh,
He's on board.
God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fuck all
I
of
had it
you.
written down. I literally had that written down on my piece of paper.
Fuck all of you.
Wow.
Okay, we're gonna do one final category before we have to wrap the show up because Danny does have to leave in like 5
I got
minutes.
5 minutes. Sorry,
Yep.
guys.
So final category we're going to do, and obviously we're going to do the rest of the rest of the stuff next week on the show. What was your comfort game this year? What's the game that you went back to feel better?
Afterbirth. It's mindless. It's fun. It's different every time you play it because you get different items. It's a different build every single time. I played a ton of that game. Also, Guild of Dungeoneering. I've played a ton of that
Oh,
game
yeah.
too.
Great game. Irish developer as well.
Yeah, he's so sweet.
Jesse, what was your comfort game this year?
I mean, there's literally 3 games that I have separated on my desktop that I play all the time. One is Renowned Explorers. I, for some reason,
Game's
love that
fucking
game.
Great.
Guild Dungeoneering, again, really fun just to play it every once in a while. And no spoilers here, Warcraft. I'm back in that game
Wow.
hardcore,
Yeah.
and I have a problem.
No, Jesse.
I'm sorry. He has lost. He is gone now. Danny, what are your comfort games this year?
Fallout 4 is definitely one of them because I did like a short doc a couple of years ago about games that people play to like deal with their depression and stuff. And like there's been a couple of times where it's like I've had a pretty shitty time and I just wanted to go home and like dive into somewhere. And I really think that's an easy way to like sort of escape into. But I think like taking the whole year into account, like it has to be Rocket League. I've played it at work.
Fair.
I've played it online with randoms. It's basically replaced FIFA and Pro Ev, and those are games that have been my like go-to games for, you know, God, I don't know, a decade at this stage.
Sure.
Yeah, so I think probably Rocket League. And they've given, like today, or yesterday, like the ice hockey update came where you can play with a puck on bigger fields. Like, it just keeps giving content. And yeah, I super love that game.
I think like it's definitely changed for me throughout the year. For a while, it was Hand of Fate. I was diving into that a lot.
It's a cool game.
Yeah, just as hey, I get in. Let's have this guy deal me some cards
End
and
of
go on some
Fate
adventures.
is a great game.
Yeah. So I like that. For another part of the year, it was definitely Renowned Explorers for the same reason. Just something that I would dive into and just we're going on an adventure. This is cool and fun and lighthearted and whimsical. I love that. I think overall this year, though, it's still Hearthstone. Just as the whole, it's almost, I don't even know if it's a comfort game. It's just a standby game. It's just something that I'll load up, have a couple of games. I was like, yeah, I had an okay time. Yeah, all right. So I guess that would be the comfort game at that point.
I mean, if it was still available to me, Overwatch would have been one of mine.
Yes,
I literally played that game every single night.
Yeah, same.
Once I got into the beta, it was like, so good.
Yeah, but that game's no longer available more, so they've taken it away from us. They've taken away our comfort blanket for at least a month.
Yeah,
that makes me sad. Oh well, I actually have time to play other video games now, so that's all right, I guess. Cool. All right, well, that about wraps up the co-op, well, at least part one of the co-opties, the meaningless award show. We have a lot more categories to cover next time on the show, which may or may not be Tuesday. Dodger, are we able to move the show to get you on it, or is it literally going to be a case of we have to Krendor you?
I think you'll have to Krendor me.
Okay,
because
cool.
I'm not sure.
All right, we'll Krendor you next week. So we will be back on the 22nd. The guest is going to be Kite Tails, who no doubt will have some really good experiences.
Gotta Krendor me, everybody.
Yep,
You have to Krendor.
Yep, and you're going to be Krendored because everyone knows we're only allowed one woman on the show at any given time. That's the rule. Absolutely. If you have two of them, they may fight. You don't put them together. It's like putting
Queen Bee syndrome. You just can't.
You don't put two
put them all
beta fish in
together.
the same tank. They'll try and kill. They'll
just
just
don't
try and
do
kill
it.
each other. You can't do it.
Works the
Don't
same
do
with
it.
Irish people too.
I have noted that.
Don't even fucking try it.
Yeah.
How is the country running?
I know. That's why do you think I'm here? Why do you think? Let's go.
Perfect.
Like,
Awesome. So we're going to quickly let Danny plug his shit before he has to leave. Danny, where can
Cheers.
we find your work on the internet?
you can find me on twitch.tv/GameSpot in about 5 minutes time when the lobby starts. It's our final episode of the year. We're back in February with that. I've got my own personal channel on Twitch and YouTube as well, which is Danny O'Dwyer. Same, there's not that many Danny O'Dwyers in the world, so
not many.
Type that into Google and they come up. I've been doing a bunch of streaming recently, especially of Fallout 4. I completed Fallout 3 naked and gunless last month, and I'm trying to do the same on Fallout 4 right now, which is basically not using any armor and only using melee and some weapons, which is good fun. So GameSpot.com for all our Game of the Year stuff, and then Danny O'Dwyer on Twitch and YouTube if you want to see some of my late night streams.
Fantastic. And frankly, you know where to find the rest of us, for God's sake. You've watched this show bloody enough. I will say that plugging the Arbitrary Awards are coming. I've almost done with that stupid 2-hour fucking video. They are coming, and we're actually going to broadcast the premiere live. Once the video is all done and edited, we're going to show it first on Twitch and then immediately put it up on YouTube so that you guys can sit in the channel and bitch about my decisions.
Perfect.
That should be funny.
Great.
Thank you very much for watching the Co-optional Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Big thanks to this week's sponsor, Crunchyroll.com/TotalBiscuit. Head on over there for your free trial for unlimited anime, all the anime that you want, and a lot of it you probably didn't realize you wanted, and maybe you just don't at all. But it's there.
Sumatsu-san, it's weird.
Yes, I suppose. You can't even spell it. Like, there's no way you're going to find that anime. Thank you very much for watching, folks. We will see you next time. Good night.
Bye.